Chapter 1136, Force Landing, Magnetic Domain. To a miser like Wang Teng, he felt uncomfortable exhausting the blank attributes he had accumulated for such a long time so quickly. But thinking about it, he kept these blank attributes for a rainy day, right? Currently, he needed these blank attributes. Life or blank attributes? There was no need to choose. Wang Teng only hesitated for a split second before he decided to use his blank attributes to raise his heart of magnetic essence again. The attribute rose quickly. As his heart of magnetic essence got stronger, the magnetic field Wang Teng created got increasingly powerful. The magnetic field of the planet was finally affected. Everything happened within a few seconds. Boom! The flaming river resumed its speed and passed through the atmospheric layer, heading for the planet below. Boom! A loud bang came from above the flaming river. Outside, the universe stage martial warrior had already caught up. He landed on the flaming river. The loud noise was caused by him stepping on the spacecraft. "You can't run away." A cold voice came out of his mouth and echoed in Wang Teng and Round Ball's ears. Wang Teng snorted. A sharp gaze shot out of his eyes. The magnetic power in his body erupted again and gathered at one point. He threw it at the universe stage martial warrior. The magnetic power was invisible. The universe stage martial warrior was preparing to punch the spacecraft, so he didn't notice the powerful force surging toward him. Before he could react, he was thrown off his feet. He spun in mid-air. The universe stage martial warrior was in a daze. What was this? Why did he get thrown away? Many questions appeared in his mind. Ha ha ha, Round Ball burst into laughter when he saw the other party's expression. At the same time, it felt relieved. This was exhilarating. They were furious when the other party chased them to capture them. So what if he was a universe stage martial warrior? He was still thrown away miserably. The universe stage martial warrior regained his composure and got angry and embarrassed. With a roar, a blade appeared in his hand. Ice force congregated on the blade, and he slashed it at the flaming river. Unfortunately, he forgot about the magnetic field of the planet. The blade glow's speed slowed down tremendously. "Run! This person has gone crazy," Round Ball shouted. Wang Teng continued increasing the magnitude of his magnetic field to resist that of the planet. "Goodbye, old fellow." The flaming river soared toward the planet, disappearing from the universe stage martial warrior's vision. "Ah, I will kill you one day." The universe stage martial warrior gritted his teeth in anger and bellowed in rage. He really wanted to enter the planet, but he realized how scary the magnetic field around this planet was. Even as a universe stage martial warrior, his speed was greatly suppressed. He felt helpless. He wore a black face and released his domain power to resist the magnetic field. Even so, he only managed to increase his speed to the heaven stage. He couldn't catch up with the flaming river. Actually, with his universe stage power, he could destroy this planet forcefully. But he didn't dare to act recklessly because of how strange this place was. As a universe stage martial warrior, he had been through many experiences. He knew that some restricted areas in the universe were extremely scary. Even a universe stage martial warrior had to be careful or his life would be threatened. The universe stage martial warrior blinked. He landed on the ground and scanned his surroundings. A frown appeared on his face. What a weird planet. It's a life planet, but all its vitality is lost. It's greatly decayed, he muttered to himself. The next instant, he waved his hand, and a bunch of figures appeared in front of him. These were martial warriors from different races in the universe. There were 50 martial warriors from the cosmos stage and celestial stage in total. Every universe stage martial warrior had a small world. Normally, they could place people in it. "Sir." The martial warriors kneeled down when they saw the universe stage martial warrior and greeted him with respect. "Search the planet and find him," the universe stage martial warrior gave his order in a stern voice. "Yes." Everyone replied in unplanned unison. The 50 martial warriors turned into lingering shadows as they spread out in all directions. On the other side, Wang Teng and Round Ball landed on the surface of the planet and hid in a large mountain. "Let's check the air on this planet to see if it's poisonous," Round Ball said. Wang Teng didn't object. His focus was on his attributes panel. Heart of Magnetic Essence, 13000000, third rank. The frantic use of his blank attribute had raised his Heart of Magnetic Essence to the third rank. He used another 200,000 blank attributes for this. Wang Ting's lips trembled. His heart was aching. He had spent 300,000 blank attributes in total. 300,000. His heart was bleeding. Although the third-rank Heart of Magnetic Essence was so powerful that it was able to catch a universe stage martial warrior off guard and throw him back, it was expensive. If he hadn't accumulated so many blank attributes, he wouldn't be able to afford this expenditure. He glanced at the end of his attributes panel where the blank attribute was. Blank attribute, 586500 good. He had 500,000 more points. He was also relieved that he managed to absorb many attribute bubbles when he resisted the magnetic field of the planet. Magnetic domain * 100 magnetic domain * 150 magnetic domain * 80 domain. Without a doubt, this was a domain power. Wang Ting was stunned when he collected the attribute bubble. He didn't think that the planet's magnetic field was a domain power. But this domain power was his now. Magnetic domain, 451,000, first rank. He received 450 points for magnetic domain in total and successfully entered the first rank. He didn't raise his Heart of Magnetic Essence for nothing. If there was resistance between them, he wouldn't be able to get the magnetic domain attribute. Blessings and misfortune came together. It was hard to predict. It's okay, this planet is not poisonous. Round Ball's voice broke his train of thought. Keep the flaming river. It's too big and will get discovered easily. Wang Teng said, I'll leave the repair of the spacecraft to you. Don't worry. I promise that I'll fix it for you. Round Ball patted its chest firmly. At the same time, it felt fortunate. We're lucky we prepared some materials and engineering robots. If not, it will be troublesome. Wang Teng nodded. He was fortunate that he got money. Before he left, he listened to Round Ball's advice and bought a large number of resources. They were put to use now. Wang Ting alighted the spacecraft and kept the flaming river. He sized up the surroundings with surprise and seriousness. The soil was grey-brown in color. It looked like gravel, dead and lifeless. There were also some rotten wood and bones of animals buried in the gravel, making this planet seem even more barren and lonely. A gust of wind blew, throwing stones in the air. Chapter 1137, Hunt. Wang Teng stood on the ground and sensed the empty and desolate atmosphere here. He found it absurd. It was unbelievable how a life planet had ended up in this state. As someone who just came out of Earth, this was a huge stimulation. What if Earth became like this? He didn't dare to imagine. Wang Teng, this planet is so strange. It's in ruins. I wonder what happened here. Round Ball's voice appeared in his mind. Let me walk around and see, Wang Teng said. All right, be careful. Don't get discovered by others. The universe stage martial warrior has probably arrived on this planet too. Round Ball disappeared. It had gone to repair the spacecraft. Wang Teng activated his disguise talent and the shadow-merging secret skill of the dark apparitions. He transformed into a shadow as he roamed the planet. The entire planet was grey-brown. There were no signs of life. Wang Teng passed through many places. Some used to be forests, but only dead trees were left. Some used to be rivers, but they had all dried up. The bones of fish were buried in the mud. He even saw bones of giant star beasts. They were buried in the gravel. Based on the hardness of these bones, he knew that they were at least at the planetary stage or the celestial stage. Wang Teng couldn't sense any force fluctuation on these bones. This meant that all the star cores and star bones had been sucked away. Wang Teng stopped in the boundless plain and looked in a certain direction. That was where the purple-black glow was at. He didn't dare to go closer. He just looked at it from afar. Actually, Wang Teng didn't know if the other party realized that they had stepped on this planet. But based on how powerful it was, it probably had discovered them. He could only hope that his disguise talent could confuse it and that it wouldn't be able to find him temporarily. Anyway, the The universe stage martial warrior was powerful and had a stronger vitality. He would be more easily discovered. A smirk appeared at the corner of Wang Teng's lips. He moved his feet and disappeared on the spot, heading into the distance. He walked for more than an hour but saw no signs of any civilization. He wondered if any civilizations ever existed on this planet. If there was, he might get some gains from them. He released his spiritual power while rushing along his journey, inching closer to the center of this piece of land. Half an hour later, he suddenly stopped. He heard some noises around him. Swoosh! He instantly disappeared on the spot and hid among the shadows at the side, disappearing into the darkness. The concealing skill of the dark apparitions was extremely useful in this environment. Very soon, a few figures rushed over from afar and stopped 10 meters away from where Wang Teng was hiding. At this distance, Wang Teng could hear what they were saying using his spiritual power. "There are people here." Wang Teng frowned. He was surprised. However, most of them were at the celestial stage. There was only one at the cosmos stage. They possessed no threat. If he used all his power and ambushed them, he could finish them off quickly. He heaved a sigh of relief when he thought about this. "Mr. Berlin, this planet is scary. Do we continue ahead?" A celestial stage martial warrior asked the human celestial stage martial warrior. "Let's go further. We need to abide by our master's order and find Wang Teng quickly," Berlin said firmly. "Yes," the others replied in a serious tone. "Temph, does he think he can run away after offending our master?" Berlin scoffed. "Indeed, they came for me. Their master is probably the universe stage martial warrior." Wang Teng wondered to himself. A few thoughts floated through his mind while killing intent churned in Wang Teng's heart. Since they came to kill him, he should return the favor. A small dot appeared on his hand. He threw it out, which landed on the cosmos stage martial warrior's forehead. This was a void mayfly. The void mayfly had spiritual illusion instilled in it. "Activate!" Wang Teng shouted in his heart. The spiritual illusion in the void mayfly was activated. The cosmos stage martial warrior got hit without realizing it. His gaze turned misty. Wang Teng controlled a flying dagger and instilled poison force and space power in it. The flying dagger flew out and disappeared in midair. It appeared behind his enemy's back and stabbed right through his throat. Splurt! The cosmos stage martial warrior died without knowing what happened. Both his soul and physical body were destroyed. "An enemy attack," someone shouted while the other celestial stage martial warriors were still in a daze. Swoosh, 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 a beam of gold light shone and chopped the heads of these martial warriors down. Fresh blood spurted out. Only one celestial stage martial warrior was left. His face turned white. He was obviously frightened. Wang Teng appeared in front of him and landed a punch. The other party was in a daze, so he was hit right in the face. Bang! Wang Teng didn't use all his force. If not, the enemy's head would have been smashed. The celestial stage martial warrior felt dizzy. His vision turned black. A crimson glow appeared in Wang Teng's eyes, stabbing right into his enemy's gaze. Wang Teng was using the bewitch skill. The enemy lost consciousness and answered whatever Wang Teng asked. Very soon, he got all the information he wanted. 50 martial warriors. Wang Teng blinked and waved his hand. A sword glow flashed and penetrated the celestial stage martial warrior's forehead. Bang! The lifeless body crashed onto the ground. By then, Wang Teng had disappeared. Constellation Force, Earth, *3000 Constellation Force, Fire, *1800 Constellation Force, Water, *1600 Celestial Realm Spirit *200. These are the slaves of the universe stage martial warriors, so their talents are limited. It's a pity that they're no special attribute bubbles. Wang Teng shook his head as he flew away. Then, he continued exploring the planet. He met another 2 teams of martial warriors along the way. Since they had split up to search for Wang Teng, there were only 5 martial warriors in each group. Dealing with them was a piece of cake. At the same time, the universe stage martial warrior noticed something amiss. He was in a rage. He hurried over personally only to find the dead bodies of the martial warriors. He was always a step behind Wang Ting. Wang Teng's slyness exceeded his expectations. Even a universe-stage martial warrior like him felt helpless. He finally understood why the Parkers specifically asked for universe-stage martial warriors to hunt Wang Teng. Chapter 1138, Ant-Man Race, Bloodlust Ultima. Saibar, you're good at tracking. Find that brat for me. The universe-stage martial warrior looked indifferent as he said coldly with killing intent in his eyes while he stood on a hill. Yes, father. Behind him, an equally tall young man with silver-white scales on his face bowed in response. Don't fight with him head-on. That brat does not have a high cultivation level, but he has many tricks and is quite strong. Notify me immediately when you find him, the universe-stage martial warrior instructed him. I understand. A cold light flashed in the tall and young Saibar's eyes. He held a long spear in his hand and nodded. Go. The universe-stage martial warrior disappeared. I do want to see how his strength compares to mine. Saibar was unconvinced and took a step. Boom. The ground cracked, and his body rose straight into the air in a streak of icy blue light as he flew into the distance. As the son of a universe-stage martial warrior, he was extremely talented and capable. Only a few in the same stage could rival him. He could even kill Cosmos-stage martial warriors. He could have advanced to the Cosmos stage, but he didn't do so, all in hopes of getting a rare opportunity to become even stronger and have a stronger foundation before his advancement. This way, he could become a universe-stage martial warrior like his father. He might even be better than him. Of course, this was what he had kept hidden in his heart. Younger generations would surpass the older generations, leaving no path for them. If the universe-stage martial warrior knew what his son was thinking, he might just smack him to death. Wang Teng was traveling in the wilderness when he suddenly narrowed his eyes. Buildings. He saw the silhouette of a building over in the distance, towering straight in the wilderness. If it wasn't for his amazing eyesight, he might not have discovered it. There were indeed traces of civilization on this planet. Wang Teng became more cautious and combined his disguise talent and shadow-merging secret skill, trying his best to conceal himself. He then cautiously headed toward the buildings. A celestial-stage martial warrior was fast. In a few minutes, he had reached the buildings. Wang Teng hid in the shadows and glanced at the buildings in front of him. He was surprised. The buildings were very peculiar. The whole structure was made of some kind of metal. He had not seen any such style. It looked just like a giant nest. This is a building from the Ant-Man race. Round Ball's voice suddenly appeared in Wang Teng's mind. Ant-Man race. Wang Teng was stunned and asked, what race is that? Is it a race of half ants and half humans? See for yourself. Round Ball sent the introduction to Wang Teng's mind. It was accompanied by pictures and explanations of the Ant-Man race. Members of the Ant-Man race had some characteristics of ants. They looked ferocious and were tall and slender. Their bodies were black and covered with armor. The Ant-Men had great strength and loved massacres. It was an extremely savage race. In the universe, the Ant-Man race was the public enemy, and everyone feared them. Many powerful martial warriors were reluctant to provoke the martial warriors of the Ant-Man race. The race's combat power was ranked amongst the top 50 in the universe. The members of the Ant-Man race are a bit too ugly. Wang Ting browsed through quickly and commented. Round Ball thought that Wang Ting would be amazed by their strength, but as it turned out, he was more concerned about their appearance. Seriously, they are a bit ugly. Round Ball cleared its throat and said, however, they are a really strong race, and they love killing. That is why many of their members have Bloodlust Ultima, Bloodlust Domain. They are notorious in the universe. Bloodlust Ultima, Bloodlust Domain. Wang Teng's eyes lit up instantly. Wang Ting had to release his spiritual power and sense his surroundings. Vigilant, he walked deeper as he investigated his surroundings. He did things slowly, for fear of an accident. Crack. Suddenly, he seemed to have stepped on something. There was a crisp sound in the silent passageway. Wang Ting lowered his head and discovered a black skeleton. Based on its skull and bones, it was someone from the Ant-Man race. He squatted down and inspected the skeleton. He realized that it was very similar to those of the star beasts outside, both of which had been drained of life and force. Otherwise, the bones wouldn't have been crushed when he stepped on them. What is this? It's so terrifying. Wang Ting looked solemn. He then got up and continued to move toward the inner parts of the nest. After a few minutes, he finally saw the first room. The doors were open, and there was a skeleton that lay on the ground in a terrifying fashion. It seemed like it wanted to escape from the room and then fell onto the ground. It then struggled to crawl forward, but it was too late. Its body was sucked dry, reducing it into a skeleton. Wang Ting could imagine the unwillingness and struggle before its death. He suddenly felt his scalp tingling. Round ball, when will the flaming river be fully repaired? Wang Ting gulped. At least 3 days. Round ball also saw the room and became silent for a while. 3 days, it's a bit long. Wang Ting's face turned bitter. Who knew what would happen in 3 days? I'll try to get it done as soon as possible. Okay, just do your best. Wang Ting didn't demand anything. He knew that round ball must have been trying its best to repair it. It would be going too far to demand more from it. Round ball didn't say anything else. Wang Ting entered the room. He then scanned around and raised his eyebrows slightly. The room was just a simple residence with nothing special about it. However, there were a few black stones lying on the ground. There were attribute bubbles floating above the black stones. Wang Ting was surprised and immediately collected them. Bloodlust Ultima *1 Bloodlust Ultima *1 Bloodlust Ultima *1. It's the Bloodlust Ultima. The Ant-Man had died, but there's still Bloodlust Ultima attribute bubbles on the black stone. Wang Ting's thoughts were running around in his mind while he was in disbelief. Wang Ting stretched out his hand. The black stone flew and landed on his palm. He then started studying it. Chapter 1139. This is not an ant. Wang Ting weighed the black stone in his hand. He felt strings of bloodlust in it. This wasn't an ordinary stone. Round ball, do you know what it is? Wang Ting asked. This should be the bloodlust stone of the Ant-Man race, Round ball appeared and said after looking at the stone. Bloodlust stone with bloodlust inside. Do you know where it's from? This stone normally appears where the Ant-Man race lives. It's probably formed by the bloodlust they absorbed. It's not formed naturally. Wang Ting was surprised. You can say it's half natural. Alright, you can go back to continue repairing the spacecraft. Wang Ting chased Round Ball away unhappily. He kept the bloodlust stone in his space ring. Although he couldn't absorb the bloodlust inside, it was good material for forging weapons. Also, he could get more bloodlust Ultima attributes from this stone. It wasn't a loss. The bloodlust stone he had gave him 10 points of bloodlust Ultima. If he collected more bloodlust stones, Wang Ting started delving deeper into the ant nest with anticipation. A few minutes later, he arrived in another room and found a few more bloodlust stones. He gained 16 more points of bloodlust Ultima along the way. Soon, half an hour passed. Wang Ting accumulated more than 300 points of bloodlust Ultima. His bloodlust Ultima reached the second level. Bloodlust Ultima, 225-500, second level. While Wang Ting was feeling the effects of the bloodlust, a sharp gaze flashed in his eyes. Strings of bloodlust intertwined in his mind as if he had taken numerous lives. Normally, the only way to enlighten the bloodlust Ultima was to kill and experience the ultimate sensation of destroying lives. However, Wang Ting took another path and relied on picking up attributes to achieve his bloodlust Ultima. He even managed to reach the second level easily. Others would be burning with jealousy if they learned about this. The bloodlust Ultima was a high-class Ultima that was hard to understand. One might get affected by the bloodlust Ultima without knowing and become a killing machine. They might lose themselves and get controlled by the urge to kill instead of controlling it. The majority of the Ant-Man race got controlled by the desire to kill, so they were known to be bloodthirsty. When Wang Ting was still on Earth, he had gotten the bloodlust attribute, but it couldn't be compared to this bloodlust Ultima. If he had to make a comparison, the bloodlust was like a small child while the bloodlust Ultima was an adult. The impact was different. Wang Teng could control the Bloodlust Ultima smoothly because his spirit was strong enough, and he had a complete grasp of the Bloodlust Ultima. Since there were no loopholes in his enlightenment, there wouldn't be loopholes in his mentality either. Those that got controlled by the Bloodlust Ultima were ones who had psychological deficiencies. That was how the Bloodlust Ultima got the chance to control them. Tap. Wang Teng suddenly stopped in his tracks. He squinted as he looked at the scene in front. Black bones lay on the ground in front of him. The bones were scattered all around the path, and broken weapons were thrown everywhere too. They had lost their power. One could see how chaotic and tragic the situation was. What astounded Wang Teng was that there were pitch-black homes on the metallic walls of the passageway. They seemed to split open forcefully by some force from the outside. Wang Teng went to the edge of the walls and looked into the pitch-black hole. He even activated his spiritual sight but didn't see anything. He only knew that this hole led to the bottom of the nest. That was where the terrifying presence was resting. Even these powerful ant-men were annihilated. How powerful is that presence? Wang Teng let out a long sigh. He felt a chill down his spine. He hesitated for a moment before deciding to head deeper into the ant nest. He had already come this far. There was an enormous body lying at the bottom of the queen ant's nest. It was an appalling sight. However, it had been dead for a long time. What's this? Wang Teng was stunned. This gigantic body was snow-white and had many different segments. It looked a little swollen. This is probably the queen ant, Round Ball replied in Wang Teng's mind. Queen ant. Wang Teng repeated the words. This is where ant-men breed. How are they not ants? Even their breeding method is the same, Wang Teng complained. Round Ball, if those ant-men warriors knew that Wang Teng called them ants, they might jump up in anger and fight with him to see who was the real ant. This queen ant has been sucked dry. Wang Teng noticed something and said. Chapter 1140, Ant-Man Queen. Upon discovering the Ant-Man Queen, Wang Teng landed on it. A sword appeared in his hand, and he sliced it lightly. With his strength, it was surprising that he couldn't open the shell of the Ant-Man Queen the first time. He had a universe-level weapon in his hands. Just with its sharpness alone, it could cut through a heaven-stage martial warrior's body. Yet there was only a shallow cut on the Ant-Man Queen. From the outside, it seemed that there was only a thin layer of the shell. It looked crystal clear, and no one expected it to be this sturdy. The Ant-Man Queen doesn't have any combat power, but it has great defensive capabilities. Round Ball appeared beside him and teased Wang Teng. Why didn't you say so earlier? Wang Teng frowned. Round Ball must have wanted him to make a fool of himself. You didn't ask. Silence. Wang Teng took a deep breath and ignored it. He then channeled his force into the sword and slashed downward. Hey, the Ant-Man Queen's shell is an excellent smithing material. Don't waste it. Wang Teng's arm stopped. The sword was just a palm's distance away from the Ant-Man Queen's shell. Cough, let me see if I can find other ways to breach its defenses. He coughed awkwardly and kept his sword before flying down. Such greed. You're hopeless. Round Ball was caught between laughter and tears. Wang Teng landed in front of the Ant-Man Queen, which was where the mouth was, and hesitated. You want to go in from here? It looks disgusting. Wang Teng's eyes twitched. Haha, it depends on your courage, young man. Round Ball snickered. Scram, Wang Teng replied angrily. In the end, he still opened the Ant-Man Queen's mouth and flew in from there. After scanning the entire body, the only places where he could enter were from the mouth and where the Ant-Man Queen defecated. He couldn't possibly enter from behind, right? He entered the Ant-Man Queen's body, and sure enough, its insides were what Wang Teng had guessed. It was just an empty shell that had been sucked dry. However, he was stunned when he reached the center of the Ant-Man Queen's body. There were white attribute bubbles floating in here. What is it? Round Ball asked when it noticed something amiss with Wang Teng's expression. It was also scanning the surroundings, but it couldn't see the attribute bubbles. Cough, nothing. Wang Teng cleared his throat to hide his loss of composure. Unbelievable. There are attribute bubbles here. But he still collected what he should collect without any hesitation by using his spiritual power. Collect. One by one, the attribute bubbles flew toward him and merged into his body. Origin of life *20, origin of life *30, origin of life *15. Damn, these are origin of life. Wang Teng was pleasantly surprised and cursed. Origin of life was extremely precious. Origin of life and origin of soul were the most important energies in life. If one expended all of them, no one would be able to save them. They could only await death. Moreover, using the power of time consumed origin of life, which showed how important it was. But this wasn't right. Why would there be origin of life attribute bubbles in the Ant-Man Queen's body? Hadn't it been sucked dry? Wang Teng was puzzled. Round ball, is there anything special about the Ant-Man Queen? If there is, it would be its strong vitality. After all, it has to give birth to countless ant-men. Round ball pondered for a while and said, strong vitality. No wonder. Wang Teng muttered in his heart with astonishment. By the way, the Ant-Man Queen's spirit is extremely powerful as well. Once, a martial warrior broke into the Ant-Man's nest and saw the Ant-Man Queen. He managed to escape with his life and provided the information. Powerful spirit. Wang Teng's eyes lit up. The surrounding attribute bubbles had all been collected. He obtained 1250 points of origin of life. 1250 points. Origin of life was vital. The brain was also surrounded by bones. Unlike the heart, where the circular area formed by the bones was almost hollow and easy to enter, the bones here were lumpy and sealed. There was only a narrow entrance at the back of the brain. So small. Wang Teng felt helpless as he stood on a piece of bone and glanced at the small gap in front of him. Fortunately, he had the morph talent and could change the shape of his body. Suddenly, his body underwent a change. His bones and muscles squirmed as if he had become a man made of paper with only a face printed on it. Phut, ha ha ha. What is that weird skill? This is so funny. Round ball burst into laughter. Go away, don't disturb me. Wang Teng frowned and snapped back. This fellow's tongue is too sharp. He didn't think too much about it initially, but when Round Ball mocked him, he felt a little embarrassed. He hurriedly went through the narrow gap and entered the brain before reverting to his original state. It wasn't as dark as Wang Teng had imagined. Instead, there was a soft white light, and the source of the glow was a crystal clear white crystal. Soul crystal. Round Ball shouted in disbelief when it saw the white crystal. Soul crystal. Wang Teng's eyes lit up. He knew what this was when he heard the name. This was good stuff. He didn't come here for nothing. Most importantly, there were many attribute bubbles floating around. Wang Teng collected them stealthily. Origin of soul *80, origin of soul *120, origin of soul *150, celestial realm spirit *2500, celestial realm spirit *2800, divine sonic wave *100. Wang Teng was overjoyed. He had another huge harvest. There were not only large amounts of spirit attributes but origin of soul attributes as well. Origin of soul was equally important as origin of life. Just like that, he gained 1,800 points of origin of soul and 6,200 points of celestial realm spirit. Origin of soul, 27600 spirit, 43200 50,000, celestial realm. Moreover, he obtained a special skill, divine sonic wave. This was a spirit soundwave ability. Wang Teng was stunned and in disbelief. What a fortune. He felt that he was incredibly lucky to obtain a spirit skill. It was an extremely rare soundwave skill. Human. Just then, a gentle voice resounded. Chapter 1141, It's Looking at You. Human. Wang Teng and Round Ball were shocked. They turned to look at the white crystal vigilantly. A soft white glow rose from the white crystal, forming a mini version of the Queen Ant-Man. Wang Teng squinted. He didn't dare to underestimate the other party. All forms of life had been sucked dry. Not an ounce of vitality was left, yet this Ant-Man Queen managed to leave a string of its origin of soul behind. He didn't discover her when he used his spiritual sight. You must be curious how I managed to escape that thing's detection, The Ant-Man Queen saw Wang Ting's astonishment and vigilance, so she spoke in a gentle voice again. "It's all right. I'm just a little surprised," Wang Ting replied. The Ant-Man Queen was stunned, not expecting this reply from Wang Ting. It was different from her prediction. Was there something wrong with this human's mind? Many thoughts went through her head. This was the conclusion she came up with. Round Ball stared at Wang Ting speechlessly. It knew that this fellow was going to do something strange again. "Don't stop. Continue," Wang Ting said. The Ant-Man Queen was frustrated. However, this was the first living person she met after a long time, and she didn't have much time left. If she missed this chance, she was afraid that, cough. The Ant-Man Queen coughed awkwardly and said, 3,000 years ago, when my race discovered that thing below the ground, it hadn't hatched out of its shell. My race came to its territory and gave it nutrients, allowing it to complete its last hatching process. The Ant-Man Queen gave a painful expression as if she was recalling some remorseful memories. "Honestly, you guys shouldn't have been such busybodies. Curiosity kills an ant," Wang Ting shook his head and said. The Ant-Man Queen, Round Ball, "To hell with curiosity kills the ant. I know what this sentence is supposed to be. Don't change the animal however you like. You're stabbing the ant in the heart." Round Ball looked at the Ant-Man Queen carefully, afraid that Wang Ting would anger her. "Young man from the human race, you will get slapped to death if you roam the universe with that mouth of yours," the Ant-Man Queen said slowly. "But I didn't. I'm alive and kicking. You're quite lucky. Aren't you going to continue?" The Ant-Man Queen kept silent for a moment before she submitted to fate. "We underestimated how powerful that thing was. After it hatched, it sucked the vitality of anyone that got near it. We made a mistake. We didn't send the most powerful martial warriors to destroy it, giving it enough time and nutrients to grow stronger. By the time we realized it, it was too late. You're quite stupid." Wang Ting couldn't help but complain. The Ant-Man Queen was enraged. Her race was annihilated, yet Wang Ting didn't show any sympathy toward them. Instead, he even mocked them. She would have pounced on him if she had a physical body. But in the end, she just sighed and said, "You're right, we were stupid. Stop wasting time. What do you want to say after talking about so many things?" Wang Ting crossed his arms in front of his chest and said gently, "Don't you want to know what that thing is?" the Ant-Man Queen asked with a sharp gaze. "What's the point? We're about to leave soon. Everything here will have nothing to do with us," Wang Ting replied calmly. "Mph, you're too naive." The Ant-Man Queen snorted. "Really? Please enlighten me." Wang Ting raised his eyebrows. "You were discovered the moment you entered this planet. Do you think it can't detect you?" The Ant-Man Queen smiled. Wang Ting frowned. He had a bad feeling. Indeed, this was something he didn't know. It wasn't a surprise that the presence found Wang Ting since it was able to destroy this planet to such a state. Wang Ting only felt that the other party didn't discover him because of his concealing skills. The result would be unimaginable once his concealing skill was seen through. "It hasn't attacked me, so it probably hasn't discovered me yet," Wang Ting said. "You don't understand it. It will wait for you to leave and attack at the last moment. Are you saying that it's been eyeing me all this time?" Wang Ting suddenly thought of a sentence. "The abyss is watching you." "That's right," the Ant-Man Queen replied firmly. "Why should I believe you?" Wang Ting snorted. "You don't have to. You'll know whether I'm lying when the time comes." Wang Ting frowned. This was a little troublesome. "Wang Ting, you can't trust everything she says, but some of what she said might be true," Round Ball reminded him in his mind. Wang Ting nodded. "After all that you've said, what do you want me to do?" "You're smart. You knew my intention from the start," the Ant-Man Queen said. "I want you to bring me out. Can you still survive in this state?" Wang Ting exclaimed. The Ant-Man Queen felt speechless. Does this brat even know how to speak properly? Infuriating. Cough, I don't mean anything. This is a sincere question, Wang Ting said. The Ant-Man Queen sighed. It was tiring to speak to Wang Ting, but she had to explain, as the queen of the Ant-Man race, I am special. The origin of soul is my foundation. As long as I have a string of origin of soul left, I have a chance to be reborn. Reborn? This time, Wang Ting was honestly shocked. The Ant-Man Queen possessed the reborn ability. Well, she did have a string of origin of soul left, so it wasn't exactly a rebirth. However, it was indeed extraordinary as she could be alive again. How can you tell me this secret? Aren't you worried that I'll have other thoughts? I don't have a choice. This planet is at its end. If I don't take the risk, I'll die here, the Ant-Man Queen said with sorrow. Yes, it has almost finished absorbing the nutrients. Wang Teng remembered the scene he saw and nodded in deep thought. How do you know? The Ant-Man Queen asked in surprise. She could feel it because she possessed a talent. However, this human could sense it too. This was unbelievable. Indeed, you're different. The Ant-Man Queen looked at Wang Ting intently as if confirming that she didn't make the wrong choice. Chapter 1142. Offer your loyalty. Thank you for your compliment. Wang Ting chuckled. The Ant-Man Queen was stunned. How can you laugh at such a time? You're indeed different. Actually, there's no use praising me. Why should I help you? I know that you won't help me without a reason, the Ant-Man Queen said. I can help you to escape from this planet. Without me, you will have trouble leaving this place. No, I have a way of leaving, Wang Ting said confidently. It doesn't matter if you're with me. Huh? The Ant-Man Queen was dumbfounded. She observed Wang Teng's face, trying to see if he was acting. The Ant-Man race has some wealth on other planets. We were in a hurry to escape, so we didn't touch those treasures. If you save me, I can give them to you, the Ant-Man Queen pondered before speaking again. How much? Wang Teng asked. He was interested. In terms of UC, these treasures are probably worth 300 trillion. Gasp. Round Ball was shocked. It opened its eyes wide. Wang Ting was dumbstruck too. He felt that he must have heard wrong. 300 trillion. Are you kidding me? The Flaming River Universe Lord only gave him around 20 trillion worth of inheritance. Yet, this Ant-Man Queen was telling him that her race had 300 trillion worth of asset. Is this a joke? Of course not. It isn't enough. Wang Ting pondered for a moment and shook his head. If I'm right, you'll be discovered once you leave this place. To that presence, you're more delicious and conspicuous than me. The Ant-Man Queen became silent. She didn't expect Wang Ting to know this. This was something she tried to hide because she knew that he wouldn't agree to her request. Looks like I'm right. Wang Ting turned to leave. He didn't want to carry a burden with him. Besides, this Ant-Man Queen couldn't be trusted. That presence was already frightening enough. The possibility of accidents happening would be greater if he brought this Ant-Man Queen along. Wait. Just when Wang Ting was preparing to leave from the crack, the Ant-Man Queen shouted helplessly, "Bring me along. I'm willing to pledge my loyalty." Your loyalty? Wang Ting stopped. Yes, my loyalty. The Ant-Man Queen said, you can get the entire Ant-Man race if you get my loyalty. Wang Teng, this Ant-Man Queen must be driven up the corner. To think that it's willing to pay such a price. Round Ball was screaming in astonishment in Wang Teng's mind. If she pledges her loyalty, her entire race will have to listen to you from now on. They'll be slaves forever. Honestly, Wang Teng was moved. The Ant-Man race was a powerful race. It was definitely good to have them under his wing. Are you sure? Wang Teng took a deep breath and asked. I can release my origin to let you leave your mark, the Ant-Man Queen said calmly. All right, release your origin. I'll bring you with me once I leave my mark. Wang Teng finally nodded after some thought. The Ant-Man Queen didn't say anything. A white crystal flew toward Wang Teng under her control. Wang Teng's eyes shimmered. He released his spiritual power and entered the white crystal, leaving his mark on it successfully. Now, Wang Teng could decide the life and death of the Ant-Man Queen with a single thought. However, through his senses, he knew that this Ant-Man Queen had reached the universe stage. Fortunately, Wang Teng's spiritual power was strong enough. It had reached the peak of the celestial realm and wasn't far away from achieving a breakthrough. That was why he could still leave his mark. However, once her abilities exceeded this limit, he might not be able to control the Ant-Man Queen anymore. Wang Teng blinked. He wasn't worried though. He was confident that he could maintain the difference in their abilities within this range. He might even be able to shorten it or surpass the Ant-Man Queen. Time is tight. Let's leave this place, the Ant-Man Queen said. We can't leave for now. My spacecraft is spoiled. I need to repair it first, Wang Teng answered. I have an undamaged, universe-level spacecraft. We can use it to leave this planet. What? You have a universe-level spacecraft? That's great. Wang Teng was elated. He asked hurriedly, where is it? Below a structure around 8,000 kilometers away to the east. All right, let's head there. He didn't want to stay any longer on this planet. The earlier he left, the safer it was. Go back to your soul crystal. I'll put you in a safe place so that thing won't be able to find you, Wang Teng said. You have a way to hide my presence, the Ant-Man Queen said helplessly. She felt that she was fooled. I have to take some risks too. Wang Teng smiled. He kept the soul crystal with the Ant-Man Queen inside into his space fragment. You're a sly one. You forced the Ant-Man Queen to bow down to you, Roundball said. Stop bullshitting. I don't want to bring this troublesome fellow along, Wang Teng replied. Please continue your act. Roundball scoffed. Let's go. Wang Teng crawled out of the Ant-Man Queen's brain and passed through its body before arriving outside. We need to bring this body back. This is good stuff, especially the brain. You can escape external detection. This is why the Ant-Man Queen didn't get discovered. It's unbelievable, Roundball exclaimed. Wang Teng nodded. He stored the body of the Ant-Man Queen in his space ring. Boom. At this moment, an ice-blue spear glow struck down from above, sweeping through the air with its extreme coldness. He found me. Wang Teng was shocked. He immediately released his emerald-glazed flame without a second thought and shot back. Fire physique activated. Flame patterns appeared on Wang Teng's body. Then, he released his punch. Flames gathered into a green fist mark and hurled toward the ice-blue spear glow. Boom. The two forces collided. Force waves swept throughout the cave. Wang Teng took the chance to dart far away. He looked at the lofty figure floating down from the roof with a frown. Wang Teng. Saibar glared at him. Normal martial warriors might have been frozen in this domain. They would be in extreme danger and couldn't fight anymore. However, Wang Teng had divine flames. He could resist the chill of the frost domain. Well, he wasn't even affected. To him, this domain was no different from the outside. Unfortunately, Saibar didn't know this. He thought that Wang Teng would be in deep trouble even if he wasn't frozen instantly. I'm the god in my frost domain. Saibar looked down on Wang Teng as if success was in his hands. God. This. Wang Teng looked up and replied calmly. Saibar's expression froze. He couldn't detect any anxiousness or fear in Wang Teng's gaze. There was only indifference. It was as if he was looking at a child wielding a knife, not a threat at all. "Mph, you're stubborn even when you're about to die. Since you're so confident, have a taste of the power of my frost domain." Saibar snorted. He raised his long spear, and countless ice spears suddenly appeared in the air. Their sharp heads were all aimed at Wang Teng. Ice Devil Spear. He bellowed. The ice spears in the air started giving off a terrifying ice-blue glow. All of them shot toward Wang Teng. Wang Teng didn't move though. He stared calmly at the ice spears charging at him. Boom. In an instant, all the ice spears dawned on him, causing a terrifying tremor. A thick ice-blue glow swallowed Wang Teng. Saibar snorted when he saw this scene. Blind confidence has caused the death of many talents. I didn't think you'd be one of them. It's too early to be happy. A voice came from below him. What? Saibar's expression changed. His brows scrunched up as he looked down. The ice-blue glow had dispersed while a dark yellow round ball had appeared in its place. Wang Teng's voice came from within the round ball. Domain. Saibar squinted. Chapter 1144, An Ice Fairy's Loot. Boom. The giant ball of rock plummeted like a meteor. The horrifying aura instantly flooded the entire space. Saibar bore the brunt of it and seemed to be suppressed, unable to lift his head. Damn it! There was a reflection of the giant sphere in Saibar's eyes. His expression changed drastically. At last, panic and fear washed over him. Ice blast! He let out a furious roar. The frost domain around him shrank abruptly and condensed into a sphere that was less than 10 meters in diameter. As Saibar struck forward with his spear, the icy sphere rushed toward the giant ball of rock. Boom! Scary explosions shook the air while the impact swept through the surroundings. After a while, the commotion subsided, and the force gradually disappeared, revealing a ragged figure. Saibar lost. He lost completely. There was no way he could fight back. His frost domain was only at the 2nd level, a lot inferior compared to Wang Teng's meteorite shower domain. That was why he was defeated. Wang Teng walked over to Saibar's side and looked down at the prideful ice fairy. "How are you so strong?" Saibar's voice was hoarse. Blood was flowing out from his mouth. He was aggrieved. "You're narrow-minded, boy," Wang Teng said quietly. "Saibar, I won't waste any more time with you. Let's end this." Wang Teng's eyes were cold as he held his sword. "If you want to blame someone, blame your father for creating trouble. He will avenge me." Saibar knew that Wang Teng wouldn't let him off, so he didn't beg for mercy. He just stared at him calmly. "Not bad, you have a strong will." Wang Teng stabbed him and ended the ice fairy's life. He then glanced around and collected the scattered attribute bubbles. Constellation Force, Ice, * 3500 Frost Domain * 300 Ice Devil Spear * 300 Ice Blast * 200 Constellation Force, Ice, * 3000 Imperial Level Ice Talent * 15,000 Celestial Realm Spirit * 1000 Ice Ultima * 600. Damn, this is an ice baby. Wang Teng's eyes shone brightly, and he felt a hint of joy in his heart. These were all great attribute bubbles, as expected of a talented martial warrior. The attribute bubbles that he dropped were different. There were 6,500 points of the constellation Ice Force, which was quite an amount for a celestial stage martial warrior. It was clear that Saibar had a strong foundation and was much more powerful than ordinary celestial stage martial warriors. On top of that, the universe stage martial warrior was also an ice element martial warrior. Many attribute bubbles had dropped when he attacked. Wang Teng naturally wouldn't let them go. Now, Wang Teng's Ice Force had reached Constellation Ice Force, 1850030,000, 3rd level. Although still at the 3rd level, there was a small improvement. Wang Ting had the urge to farm attribute bubbles from the universe stage martial warrior. Unfortunately, the action was potentially life-threatening. He didn't want to die just yet. Next were 15,000 points of Imperial level ice talent. These attributes were worth a lot. Wang Teng's ice talent was already at the Imperial level. With the addition of 15,000 points, his ice talent greatly improved, and he felt stronger. This was followed by 1,000 points of Celestial Realm Spirit. Spirit, 4450050,000, Celestial Realm. Wang Teng couldn't help but feel satisfied when he saw that his spirit was getting closer and closer to the Cosmos Realm. If he worked a bit harder, he would be able to advance to the Cosmos Realm. Besides that, there were also 600 points of Ice Ultima. This was a new attribute for Wang Teng, which meant a lot to him. Ice Ultima was undoubtedly powerful. Wang Teng sensed it while fighting the Ice Fairy. He had to use his Fire Physique and Fire Ultima to withstand the Ice Ultima. Ice Ultima, 300-500, 2nd level. Even though he had just obtained it, he had already reached the 2nd level. It was clear that Saibar had mastered the Ice Ultima to a great extent. It was a pity that there wasn't enough time. Otherwise, Wang Teng would have fought with him for another 300 rounds and farmed more attribute bubbles from him. Finally, the biggest harvest this time was Frost Domain. Wang Teng was astonished to discover that the Ice Fairy had comprehended the power of the domain in the celestial stage. He felt that he had underestimated the geniuses in the universe. It was possible that the feat was achieved with a universe stage martial warrior's guidance. But he had to admit that the Ice Fairy had extraordinary talent as well. An idiot wouldn't become powerful when taught by a universe-stage martial warrior. Now, the Frost domain was Wang Teng's. The universe-stage martial warrior had spent so much time and effort in teaching his son, but now, Wang Teng was the one reaping the benefits. Frost domain, 301,000, first rank. It's a pity that there are only 300 points. He wasn't good enough. Wang Ting shook his head in regret. If Saibar was better, he could have obtained more attributes. What a pity. If Saibar knew what Wang Teng was thinking, he might crawl up from the ground. He benefited from it and pretended otherwise. Other people had worked so hard to master the domain, but he was still complaining after obtaining it so easily. Shameless. Wang Ting also got his hands on 2 ice element battle techniques, Ice Devil Spear and Ice Blast. These battle techniques were extremely powerful. If used properly, they would be useful means of combat. In particular, Ice Blast was able to compress the power of the domain. Its power could almost reach the levels of his planetary devastation. Ice Devil Spear, 301,000, Foundation, Universe Stage, Ice Blast, 201,000, Foundation, Universe Stage. These are Universe Stage battle technique. Wang Teng was surprised when information about the 2 battle techniques emerged in his mind. He didn't expect these battle techniques to reach such a level. It was great to have a Universe Stage martial warrior as a father. He had Universe Stage battle techniques, which was practically cheating. He could only pick up attribute bubbles that other people dropped. What a tough life. He shook his head and sighed. Wang Teng then took away the Ice Fairy space ring and scanned it. After making sure that everything was dealt with, he left and headed to another Ant-Man Races building where the universe-level spacecraft was buried. On a bare mountain thousands of miles away, the universe-stage martial warrior was sitting cross-legged on a rock. His eyes suddenly snapped open. Killing intent burst out from his body as he let out a loud roar. Wang Ting, how dare you kill my son? The roar was filled with endless rage and grief. It was like an injured beast. It was hard to imagine that a universe-stage martial warrior would show such emotions. In the next moment, he shot up and headed toward the Ant-Man building with extreme speed. At the same time, what Wang Teng and the universe-stage martial warrior didn't know was that in the core of the planet, a pair of huge and cold purple-black eyes had slowly opened. Chapter 1145 Universe-Level Spacecraft, Devil Slayer. Wang Ting headed towards the building that the Ant-Man Queen directed him to while paying attention to what was happening underground. Suddenly, he stopped in his tracks, and his expression turned solemn. What's wrong? Round Ball asked in surprise. Hearing that there was a universe-level spacecraft on the planet, it was more concerned than anyone else. It felt a little weird when Wang Ting stopped. The thing that's underground just moved. Wang Ting said solemnly. Moved. Round Ball was shocked. Wang Ting activated his spiritual sight and eyes of essence and looked down at the ground. He saw the thing move, but it then became silent again as if it had never moved. It found me. For some unknown reason, he had this idea. That thing might be able to sense his gaze. Wang Ting took a deep breath and was shocked by his own guess. If that thing could really sense his gaze, it would be terrifying. When you look into the abyss is watching you as well. This feeling made his scalp tingle. Wang Teng retracted his gaze and didn't dare to look again as if his guess might come true. Did you sense it correctly? Round Ball gulped. Wang Teng shook his head and didn't say anything. Gritting his teeth, he rushed toward the Ant-Man building. No matter what, he had to get his hands on the universe-level spacecraft. He would think about these things later. At the same time, Wang Teng's spirit entered the space fragment and transmitted a message to the Ant-Man Queen. What the hell is that thing? This is a magical place. I can feel that this is completely isolated from the outside world. No wonder you had the confidence to take me away. The Ant-Man Queen didn't answer his question. Don't play with me. Wang Teng frowned and snarled. No, I'm just expressing my feelings. The Ant-Man Queen's voice was gentle as always. I don't know what it is, but I know that it is able to absorb everything that has life to nourish itself. You don't need to say that, I know it as well. Wang Teng took a deep breath. He felt that this Ant-Man Queen was just spouting nonsense. You said that you would help me previously. We don't have any other chance. If anything goes wrong, it would be difficult to get out of here. Alright, when you get the universe-level spacecraft, head east. There's something there that it's afraid of, the Ant-Man Queen said. Something that it's afraid of? What's that? Wang Ting asked in surprise. There's a dimensional rift to Darkland there. If my guess is right, it should be that. Darkland dimensional rift. Wang Ting frowned. There are actually dimensional rifts to the Darkland here on this planet. That's right. Dark apparitions appeared on this planet but were repelled by us, and the dimensional rifts were sealed. The Ant-Man Queen said, we discovered that it never goes near that place as if it's incompatible with the dark force. It can absorb all life, which means it is very sensitive to the power of life. Then, Wang Teng's eyes lit up, and his mind started churning thoughts. Dark force means death, so it should detest dark force. Dark force might even affect it negatively. Your analysis is the same as ours back then, the Ant-Man Queen commented. Then why didn't you all go to the dimensional rift? We didn't dare to. The Ant-Man Queen smiled bitterly. That's right. Ordinary creatures would avoid the Darkland, let alone approach it. Wang Teng thought about it and said, so back then, all of you headed to the dimensional rift as a last resort, but it was too late. That's right. The Ant-Man Queen went silent for a while before responding. Do you dare to go there? She raised a question. Ha ha ha. Make a guess. Wang Teng laughed. He had killed so many dark apparitions and even visited the Darkland multiple times. There was nothing he was afraid of. If there was anyone who was the least afraid of the Darkland, it would be him. After all, Wang Ting possessed dark force. Although he didn't use it often, he didn't mind revealing it if necessary. Anyway, it was impossible for Round Ball and the Ant-Man Queen to betray him. He didn't need to worry about others knowing his secret. Wang Ting felt a lot more relaxed. At least there was hope. As long as he could find a way to deal with it, there was still hope. The worst thing was if there was no countermeasure. Wang Ting increased his speed to the maximum and finally saw an Ant-Man building from afar after about 10 minutes. He sent the image over to the Ant-Man Queen, confirming that it was the building where they had hid the universe-level spacecraft. Wang Ting went inside. With the Ant-Man Queen's help, he didn't need to search for it himself. He got through the levels smoothly and reached the deepest part of the building. He even gained a lot of Bloodlust Stones and Bloodlust Ultima along the way. Bloodlust Ultima, 123,000, 3rd level. After picking up this wave of Bloodlust Ultima attributes, he advanced it to the 3rd level. The deepest part of the building was a whole lot different. There was no Ant-Man Queen here, only a large underground space. The place was filled with all kinds of mechanical instruments. The rock walls were inscribed with runes, which sealed everything here. There was no life in these machines. That was presumably why they were still in one piece. A universe-level spacecraft was parked at the bottom of the underground space. Compared to Wang Teng's Flaming River, this spacecraft was less than a third of its size. Wang Teng landed from above and appeared in front of the spacecraft, scanning it. The spacecraft was pitch black and looked like a pyramid. As expected of an Ant-Man race's spacecraft. The appearance alone exudes killing intent. Round Ball appeared and exclaimed. Cold and ferocious, like a murderous god and also a ghost, Wang Teng commented with a flash of surprise in his eyes. To a man, this spacecraft was sleek and gorgeous, like a Rolls-Royce amongst supercars. It was definitely a phantom amongst spacecraft. Just imagining driving a spacecraft like this in space made one's soul tremble with excitement. If a spacecraft enthusiast like Di Chi saw this universe-level spacecraft, he would go green with envy. This universe-level spacecraft is named Devil Slayer. The Ant-Man Queen's voice appeared in Wang Teng's mind. Chapter 1146, Chaos and Escape. Devil Slayer. Wang Teng repeated the name and found it appropriate. Even the name is full of bloodlust. Round Ball was speechless. Boom. The entire Ant-Man building shook as if it had been struck with a huge force. Wang Teng's expression changed. He activated his spiritual sight and looked toward the ground below. How is this possible? His pupils shrank as if he had seen something unbelievable. A dark purple beam of light protruded out of the ground like a tentacle, extending all the way to the bottom of the building. Although Wang Ting had retracted his gaze and didn't stare at it, he still observed it from time to time. He just checked a minute ago. There was no movement from the dark purple light back then. When did it stretch its hand here? Let's leave. Wang Teng didn't dare to hesitate and put away the universe-level spacecraft before rushing out of the Ant-Man building. He had not forgotten about the tragic states of the dead Ant-Men. If that thing underground caught up to him, his origin of life would be sucked dry. His origin of life was considered strong amongst those of the same stage, but to that existence, it wasn't even enough for an appetizer. Boom! The entire building shook. Cracks started appearing in the surrounding metal walls as if it was being compressed by something from the outside. The metal tunnel and the ground were cracking as well. Many metal fragments were flung around, flying toward Wang Ting. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The metal fragments were like powerful bullets fired from force guns. If hit, even Wang Ting would be injured. It was clear how powerful the burst of the dark purple light was. Force surged out of Wang Ting's body, forming a protective barrier around him as he bulldozed his way ahead. At the same time, he waved his hand, and the golden crescent blade flew out, spinning rapidly and slicing the top of the metal tunnel. Crack! Screeching sounds reverberated as Wang Ting opened up the tunnel. He then rushed toward the top. Boom! 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 Right at this moment, streaks of dark purple light shot out from the cracks like tentacles, chasing after Wang Ting. They were like a mouth trying to devour him. Wang Teng's expression changed drastically. He could feel a strong pulling force coming from behind. The pulling force was not only affecting his body as it tried to drag him down, but even his origin of life was starting to flow out. Incapable of resistance. This feeling was too horrifying. You want to eat me? Wang Ting became ruthless, and a cold expression appeared on his face. Boom! Suddenly, a black force gushed out of his body, with a cold, sinister, and even chaotic feeling. The appearance of this power transformed Wang Ting as if a human had morphed into a terrifying dark apparition. Menace filled his entire body. His black hair danced wildly in the air, filled with recklessness and insanity. If not for his clear eyes, anyone would have thought that he was a dark apparition. Wang Ting, you! Round Ball was dumbstruck. It never thought that Wang Ting had the power of dark force. This was simply impossible. It spent so much time with Wang Ting and was sure that he was a pure human being. How could he use the dark force? Countless questions and doubts appeared in Round Ball's mind, but it knew that this was not the time to ask about these things. Roar. A strange roar came from the dark purple light. It seemed to be afraid of the dark force and retreated involuntarily. It was unwilling to approach Wang Ting, who was shrouded in dark force. It retreated. It really is afraid of dark force. Round Ball was pleasantly surprised. Wang Ting, however, was silent. He increased his speed and charged toward the top frantically. The dark purple light let out a strange yell as if it was reluctant and furious. It then chased him again. It didn't want to let Wang Ting leave like that. Chapter 1147, Desperate Situation. The Universe Stage Martial Warrior's name was Sai Len. As a Universe Stage Martial Warrior, he was someone who had influence in at least one planetary sector. He even made a name for himself in the galaxy. But while confronting Wang Ting, he suffered repeated setbacks. Sai Len's life was a little sad. He initially wanted to head over to another Ant-Man building, but he heard a roar on his way there, so he rushed over. He knew something must have happened. He was even more certain that Wang Ting must be here. Wang Ting had killed his only son. He must be avenged. Sai Len's body emanated an icy chill. Although his face was blurred, his eyes were filled with murderous intent. Boom! He sped up and rushed toward the commotion. At the same time, a green light was heading toward him from the front. After Wang Ting discovered the Universe Stage Martial Warrior, he concealed his dark force. He couldn't guarantee that the Universe Stage Martial Warrior would stay here. He didn't want to reveal the existence of the dark force. Otherwise, it would be big trouble for him. Silen felt Wang Ting's aura and frowned. Something's not right. This brat is so cunning. Why would he throw himself to me? He didn't believe that Wang Ting didn't know that he was here. So there was only one problem. This bastard wanted to direct his problems to him. Silen looked grim, and his heart was boiling with killing intent. He wanted to turn and leave immediately, but Wang Ting was just in front of his eyes. He was reluctant to do so. He fell into hesitation before finally deciding to kill him here and leave as quickly as possible. With the strength of a universe stage martial warrior, no matter what terrifying thing there was on this planet, he could always leave if he wanted to. He had the utmost confidence in his own strength. Wang Ting also sensed that the universe stage martial warrior had stopped. Countless thoughts flashed in his mind, and he immediately guessed what the other party was trying to do. But he didn't hesitate at all. There was something more horrifying behind him. He had to rely on the universe stage martial warrior to hold it back. Boom! Behind Wang Ting, dust and sand were flying in the sky, sweeping toward him like a sandstorm. He couldn't see the figure behind the sandstorm. The only thing he could see was the dark purple light that appeared from time to time. 3,000 meters. 2,500 meters. 2,000 meters. The distance between them was getting shorter. Wang Ting maximized his speed. He could already see the icy blue glow of the universe stage martial warrior. Silen saw the frightening scene as well, and his pupils shrank. Damn it! He finally felt panic. His scalp was numb. The thing inside the sandstorm could definitely threaten him. Silen couldn't care less about Wang Ting. Nothing was more important than his own life. So, he turned around and ran. F***K. Wang Ting cursed and shouted, "Don't go, I'm here. Come and kill me. Go away." Silen's face turned black as he shouted. This brat is an asshole. He had brought such a terrifying thing to him. If it wasn't for the circumstances, he would have stopped and killed Wang Ting right then and there. A universe stage martial warrior was forced to such a point. Are you not going to kill me? I killed your son. Are you not going to avenge him? Wang Ting taunted as he ran. Bastard. Silen gritted his teeth, and his eyes were filled with hatred. But no matter how furious he was, he didn't slow down at all. With the sword in his hand, he slashed at Wang Ting behind him. An icy blue sword glow traveled across in a bid to intercept Wang Ting. Wang Ting's eyes narrowed, and he used space flash to move away. The icy sword glow slashed into the sand behind him. Boom! The sword glow finally revealed the dark purple light inside. That thing had no physical body, but it looked like a huge octopus. The dark purple streaks of light turned into countless tentacle-like things that danced in the sky as they lunged toward Wang Ting and Silen. Roar! Silen's attacks seemed to have enraged that thing, causing it to let out a furious roar. Good job! Wang Ting couldn't help but praise Silen. F***K. Silen saw that and his face was dark like the bottom of a pot. Boss, this is all a misunderstanding. This was not his original intention. He only wanted to intercept Wang Ting. Unfortunately, that thing wouldn't listen to his explanation. If that thing took Silen as ordinary prey previously, it treated him as disobedient prey now. Disobedient prey had to be taught a lesson. Don't stop, continue. Wang Ting shouted from behind. To hell with continuing. Silen wanted to curse, but he knew that this was obviously not the time to lose his composure. Wang Ting could clearly evade his attacks easily. If he attacked again, he would hit that thing and provoke it. It wasn't worth it at all. This was too frustrating. Wang Ting saw that the other party was no longer doing anything, but he wouldn't let the universe stage martial warrior off like that. Although he couldn't defeat his opponent, it was still okay to give him some trouble. The golden crescent blade flew out and spun rapidly with a wave of his hand. It only surrounded the universe stage martial warrior without attacking. At the same time, he used fire tongue. The divine flames turned into tongues of flame and tried to catch Silen. These wouldn't pose any threat to Silen's life or even hurt him. However, they would slow him down. Get lost. Silen's face was gloomy. He kept slashing his sword to repel the golden crescent blade and slice the fire tongues. Goodbye. Wang Teng laughed. He had already caught up and overtook him. Salen's face turned green and white. He didn't dare to stop and didn't have the time to deal with Wang Teng. He could only run for his life. The universe stage martial warrior was supposed to be faster than Wang Teng, but Wang Teng had donned the wings of wind and lightning and was extremely fast. He also used space techniques from time to time, which was why he wasn't much slower than Silen. The horrifying presence behind kept chasing wildly, but the distance had widened. Wang Ting heaved a sigh of relief. Suddenly, the ground in front began to quake. Sand and dust shot up into the sky. Not only that, but the same thing happened to the ground on both sides as well. Something charged out from below. Wang Teng and Silen were surrounded. Their expressions were bleak, and they had to stop. Wang Teng's pupils shrank. He was trying to figure out a way to escape. However, he came up with nothing. He was in a desperate situation. Chapter 1148, Devouring Nihility Beast. The sand encased Wang Ting and Silen like a cage. Even the sky was gradually covered. Soon, the two sides of the sand met, and they were locked inside entirely. Wang Teng and Silen's only path of retreat was blocked. They weren't afraid of the sand. They were afraid of what was in it. The purple-black light filled up Wang Teng's vision when he activated his spiritual sight. There wasn't any room for him to escape. "Hey," Wang Teng called Silen. "What?" Silen frowned and asked in a cold voice. "We can only work together to see if there's any possibility of escaping," Wang Teng said. "Work with you?" Silen scoffed in disdain. "You?" He added indifferently, "I won't cooperate with my son's killer. Let's die together then." Wang Ting shook his head and sighed. "Mph, I might not die." Silen snorted. "Huh?" Wang Ting looked at him in astonishment. "Let's wait and see." He furrowed his brows slightly. The universe stage martial warrior wouldn't give him trouble, but he wouldn't cooperate with him either. This was troublesome. Was he supposed to expose his dark force again? However, his dark force was only at the 6th level planetary stage. He wasn't certain if he could escape before his dark force wore down completely. If he couldn't run away in time, he would become that creature's food. The sand cage was gradually shrinking. It didn't move quickly and was slowing down. It seemed to be teasing them. Just like a cat that caught a mouse, it didn't gobble them up in a hurry but allowed them to stay alive for some time as if their meat would taste better this way. Or, it had a bad sense of humor. After all, if one stayed underground for many years, they might become as crazy as this creature. Wang Ting knew that when he noticed this creature, it was observing him silently too. Suddenly, he felt it might have a screw loose. He assessed the situation and wasn't in a hurry to escape. There was some time before the other party ate him. He must find the most appropriate way of survival. "Wang Ting, I think I know what that is." Round Ball's voice appeared in Wang Ting's mind. Wang Ting was astounded and elated. He asked hurriedly, "What is it?" "Devouring Nihility Beast." Round Ball said these 3 words after a moment of silence. "The Devouring Nihility Beast. What's that?" Wang Ting had never heard of this beast, so he didn't know what it was. This is a presence that only exists in legends. It's a mysterious beast. The people who have seen it before are mostly dead. Thus, there's almost no information on the devouring nihility beast. "I found its description while looking through an ancient book just now," Round Ball explained quickly. "How confident are you?" "Based on the characteristics of this creature, I'm about 80% certain." Wang Teng nodded. "Did the ancient book mention its weakness?" "No. It just says that it can grow by swallowing any matter and it especially loves the origin of soul and the origin of life. It hates dark force, but it can devour it if it wants to. It just doesn't like it," Round Ball said. F***K, pervert. Wang Teng widened his eyes in disbelief. It could swallow anything. Wasn't it invincible? At first, he thought that the creature was afraid of the dark force. Now, he knew that it wasn't afraid. It just disliked it. Just like a little child who disliked coriander. If you forced him, he would still eat it. The sand cage had shrunk to 500 meters in radius. Silen couldn't bear it anymore. A glaring ice-blue glow shot out from his body, giving off a strange fluctuation. The power of origin. He wants to use his power of origin to force his way out. Wang Teng understood his plan after sensing the fluctuation. He kept his distance in case the other party dealt him a blow before leaving. He had killed his son. This was unforgivable. An ice-blue glow shot out from Silen's eyes. He gave Wang Teng a final glance before ignoring him. With a yell, the ice-blue glow exploded, and a powerful fluctuation spread out. "Go!" Silen shouted. He turned into a dazzling and sharp beam of sword glow and slashed out. His body had disappeared too. Boom! Along with a terrifying explosion, a large blade mark was formed in the sand ahead. The purple-black glow was cut by the sword glow too. Wang Teng frowned. A universe-stage martial warrior was indeed powerful. However, just when he thought that the ice-blue blade glow was going to shatter the purple-black glow, something unexpected happened. The purple-black glow started gathering together at a high speed, enveloping the ice-blue glow as if it was devouring it. Boom! The purple-black glow expanded, and beams of ice-blue glow shot out from within. However, it was useless. The ice-blue glow was still devoured in the end and disappeared. Calmness resumed. Only the enclosed cage continued shrinking slowly. Wang Teng stood in the middle. Sigh, even a universe-stage martial warrior can't force his way out. Wang Teng felt dejected. His heart sank as if there was a huge rock pressing it down. Wang Teng! Round Ball shouted uncontrollably. It couldn't think of any solutions either. It felt despair. Was Wang Teng and it going to die here? It thought that Wang Teng could go further in the universe with his exceptional talent, but they met the devouring nihility beast. Things never went as planned. At this moment, the cage around them suddenly shrunk quickly. It became 100 meters smaller almost instantly. There's no time. Wang Teng turned grim. He released the divine flames in his body. Dark flame, holy flame, emerald glazed flame, and soul of thousand beasts flame, these 4 flames engulfed him. Chapter 1149, The Final Method. Wang Teng wrapped himself up with another 3 layers of defense to see if he could escape from being swallowed up by the devouring nihility beast. After the purple-black light enveloped Wang Teng, the first thing it had to overcome was the barrier formed by the dark force. In the end, it found it hard to swallow as if it had eaten a piece of dung. It seemed that dark force wasn't a good thing for it. Wang Teng wanted to find an opportunity to escape, but he felt like he was spinning while he was inside his barrier. It seemed like he was falling rapidly toward the bottom. This discovery changed Wang Teng's expression slightly. It looked like the devouring nihility beast wouldn't let him go easily even if it wasn't in a hurry to devour him. It was dragging him to the place where its body was. After some time, Wang Teng felt that his surroundings were silent without any vibrations or sounds. It was like he was floating up and down on the water. Wang Teng crossed his legs and sat in his barrier. He couldn't see anything outside and could only see a terrifying mass of energy surrounding him by using spiritual sight. This mass of energy was clearly the devouring nihility beast's body. He guessed that he was in its stomach. Wang Teng, what now? Round Ball asked in a solemn voice. We shall be its cold dish. Wang Teng shook his head. He couldn't come up with any good ideas. Round Ball was speechless. Can you be serious? This is a matter of life and death. Wang Teng ignored Round Ball and closed his eyes. He then focused on his attributes panel. Ordinary methods were no longer enough for him to escape from the devouring nihility beast's grasp. He had to figure out if there was a special way to deal with this thing. Round Ball saw what was happening and knew that Wang Teng was thinking of a solution. It didn't dare to disturb him, only worrying silently. Time passed slowly. Wang Teng said that he wasn't in a hurry, but the reality was otherwise. He was browsing through all his skills over and over again. If he could deal with the devouring nihility beast, he didn't mind trying it. No one knew how long it took. The devouring nihility beast seemed to have become impatient and was about to attack Wang Teng. A peculiar force enveloped the barrier with huge suction power, which seemed to pull it apart. Wang Ting sensed this immediately. His expression changed as his eyes snapped open. It moved. Round Ball was startled and looked outside, but it wasn't able to see anything. What do we do? What do we do? I don't want to die here. It spun around in front of Wang Ting anxiously. Stop spinning, I'm getting dizzy. Wang Ting rolled his eyes. Why is an intelligent life form like you afraid of dying? Intelligent life forms are still life forms. You're despising me. Round Ball glared at him. It's rare to see such a cowardly intelligent life form like you. Wang Ting teased. Stop fooling around. Hurry up and think of a way. Round Ball rolled its eyes. Wang Ting shook his head and looked forward. Gnawing sounds were suddenly heard from the barrier as if it was being eroded by something. The atmosphere tensed up, causing Wang Ting and Round Ball to hold their breaths. Very soon, the outermost layer of dark force had been devoured completely. Wang Ting didn't stop it. Is there really no way? Round Ball's heart sank when it saw him like this. It then suggested, we are now at its stomach, which should be every life form's most vulnerable place. Can you use your dark force and carve a way out? Wait, what did you say? A flicker of light flashed in Wang Ting's eyes as if he had caught something. You have a plan? Round Ball was pleasantly surprised. Repeat what you said, Wang Ting said hurriedly. We're in its stomach. The stomach should be every life form's most vulnerable place. Round Ball said, is that it? Stomach, the most vulnerable place. Wang Ting ignored Round Ball and kept repeating that in his mind. He seemed to have caught something, but at the same time, didn't. He seemed to have seen a related skill when he was browsing through the attributes panel. What was it? Skills started appearing in his mind one by one. This feeling was tearing into his heart, and he was about to go crazy. Having too many skills was also a problem. It was hard to find a skill that he needed. But then again, if he didn't have so many skills, he wouldn't have been able to find useful skills. The most vulnerable place. Wang Ting muttered to himself, his eyes getting brighter and brighter. I understand. What do you understand? Round Ball asked with a shocked expression. I know how to deal with it. Wang Ting laughed uncontrollably. The most vulnerable place is not the stomach, it's, what is it? Round Ball probed. Wang Ting didn't say it directly and told it in his mind. The soul is the most vulnerable. Soul. Round Ball was slightly stunned. The devouring nihility beast is so powerful, its soul shouldn't be that weak. This is just relatively speaking. For every life form, the soul is the most vulnerable place. You want to attack its soul? Round Ball hesitated. Yes, but it isn't really an attack, it should be. Wang Ting stopped. His eyes flashed, and he said in a deep voice, Round Ball, I'll place my body into the space fragment. Go in together with me. Wait, what are you trying to do? Round Ball was anxious. Before it finished speaking, it disappeared from the barrier along with Wang Ting. This is the final method. A faint voice drifted inside the barrier. In the space fragment, Wang Ting landed on a piece of rock. The floral fairies were shocked when they saw their master appear. Chapter 1150, Give and Take. Wang Ting left his body in the space fragment. When his body entered the space fragment was hidden within space. It hadn't disappeared. This space was hidden within the defense shields. If the devouring nihility beast destroyed the defense shields, it could start devouring everything in the space fragment. This was how terrifying the devouring nihility beast was. Wang Ting wanted to escape using his space skills, but he realized that the space around him was sealed. He couldn't run away. He was helpless. Thus, he had to take the risk and make one last effort. Let's see who will be the final winner. Wang Ting was furious. He released his spirit and targeted the devouring nihility beast outside. Since he had made his decision, he proceeded without any hesitation. Death wasn't scary. Just do it. Boom. Wang Ting's spirit broke through the defense shield and charged toward the purple-black light outside. The devouring nihility beast roared angrily as if it had sensed a provocation. Why are you shouting? Wang Ting's spirit bellowed. He shot directly in the direction where he sensed the beast's origin of soul was. An enraged roar replied to him as a terrifying devouring force charged at Wang Teng's spirit. "I'm going to teach you a lesson if you want to devour me." Wang Teng was indignant. He released his water of netherworld and welcomed the devouring nihility beast. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The water of netherworld was quite useful. There was a hissing sound when it came into contact with the body of the devouring nihility beast. It was corroding its body. But the water of netherworld was being consumed too. It was gradually decreasing in volume. Wang Teng couldn't care less. As long as the origin of the water of netherworld didn't get devoured, it could be recovered. He ignored the situation on that side and executed all his skills to resist the devouring nihility beast. Then, he charged toward the origin of soul at the fastest speed possible. Almost there. Almost there. He was almost there. Wang Teng kept the water of netherworld and released his 4 divine flames: Soul of Thousand Beasts Flame, Emerald Glazed Flame, Holy Flame, and Dark Flame. The devouring nihility beast didn't expect him to have so many flames. With the protection, it would have a hard time swallowing him. As a result, Wang Teng got closer to its origin of soul. Roar! The devouring nihility beast bellowed in anger again. However, this time, Wang Teng caught a hint of anxiousness in its voice. "Are you scared?" Wang Teng snorted. He could feel the origin of soul inches away from him. He used all his strength to knock into it. Boom! Wang Teng's spirit slammed into the devouring nihility beast's origin of soul. Abyss Burial. Thief. Wang Teng activated these 2 skills simultaneously. A moment ago, he had raised these 2 skills to the perfected stage. He activated them in unison because he wanted to give the devouring nihility beast a lethal strike. Full-blown Abyss Burial. Thief at max power. The angry roar of the devouring nihility beast echoed in the universe. It sounded furious and agitated. Time passed slowly. More than a month had passed in the blink of an eye. The disappearance of the devouring nihility beast caused the decaying planet to turn dead silent. It floated in the universe along with the grey mist like a ghost of the universe. No one could barge into the center of the grey mist and disturb this dead planet either. At the same time, Round Ball and the others were counting the days in Wang Teng's space fragment. The more time passed, the more agitated they felt. It's been more than a month. Why isn't Wang Teng awake? Round Ball floated around Wang Teng, checking his breath and his pulse occasionally, afraid that he would die at any moment. "Be quiet," the Ant-Man Queen said uncontrollably. "What do you know? You're not affected if he dies." Round Ball shot back. Ha ha ha, Wang Teng burst out laughing. He actually succeeded. He managed to get the origin of soul of this powerful beast. His laughter lasted for a long time. Wang Teng calmed down and sat down cross-legged in this dark space. With a single thought, he released another ball of origin of soul inside his body. It formed a purple-black shadow of the giant beast. Devouring Nihility Beast. This is the devouring Nihility Beast. Wang Teng looked at the shadow of the beast and gasped. This was the most mysterious behemoth in the universe. It was extremely rare, and no one alive had ever seen it. Yet, it was right in front of him and was also a part of him. Wang Teng found this unbelievable. Chapter 1151. How dare he? The origin of soul of the devouring Nihility Beast was enormous. Wang Teng seemed exceptionally small beside it. By right, he should have failed due to the vast difference in strength and size. However, he succeeded. The main reason was that this devouring Nihility Beast was still a baby. It was too naive. That was why it attempted to play with its prey. There was a little advantage when an adult soul attempted to steal an infant soul. The second reason was that Wang Teng was a bug. He forcefully replenished his origin of soul using his blank attributes when it was consumed and won the marathon. To make an inappropriate analogy, Wang Teng was like a tough needle that couldn't be bent. He penetrated the devouring Nihility Beast's origin of soul slowly but surely. Even a small hole allowed him to succeed in his thief skill. Now, all of Wang Teng's blank attributes were gone. Not a single point was left. Honestly, he almost died. If he had slightly fewer points, he wouldn't have succeeded. Wang Ting still had lingering fears when he recalled the entire thief process. Either way, he succeeded in the end. This was the first time Wang Ting had executed this skill. This was his last resort. He didn't think he would succeed. Now, he was sharing a soul with the devouring nihility beast. But they had different bodies. The origin of soul of the devouring nihility beast was now a part of his origin of soul. Wang Ting sat cross-legged in front of the devouring nihility beast's origin of soul. It started shrinking immediately and turned into another Wang Ting after some time. This new Wang Ting was dressed in a purple-black gown. Even his hair was purple-black. It was extremely different from the real Wang Ting. "Sit," Wang Ting said. The devouring nihility beast smiled and sat down in front of him. Two Wang Tings sat opposite each other. This was a strange sight. Fortunately, Wang Ting had executed his cloning skill before, so he was used to this feeling. Then, Wang Ting closed his eyes and started counting his gains. The risk of the thief skill was huge. He would be doomed eternally if any accidents happened, but the gains were tremendous too. It was a pleasant surprise. Wang Ting's mind was in a whirl. He couldn't absorb the legacy of the devouring nihility beast within such a short time. That was right. As the most mysterious universe behemoth, the devouring nihility beast had a legacy. These powerful universe behemoths had an unimaginably queer way of passing on their legacy. There were only a few of them, so when they were at the end of their lives, they would compile all their origin of life into an egg. Their main body would disappear. The egg would be left on a planet with strong vitality. It would be incubated there for millions or even billions of years. The legacy of the race would be passed down through spiritual marks. Also, the devouring nihility beast could consume other living creatures, so it could easily obtain the secret legacies of other races. This method was similar to how he picked up attribute bubbles, but it wasn't as direct. After absorbing the knowledge, they had to digest it slowly by themselves. These memories were passed down from generation to generation. It was an accumulation of knowledge over billions and billions of years. The vastness of this knowledge and legacy was unimaginable. Now, it was in Wang Ting's hands. In front of the devouring nihility beast's legacy, Nangong Yu and the Flaming River Universe Lord's legacies were nothing. There was no comparison. This vast amount of knowledge almost blasted Wang Ting's mind apart. Fortunately, after stealing the devouring nihility beast, his origin of soul became many times more powerful than before. Actually, the devouring nihility beast was only at the peak of the cosmos stage. But its origin of soul and origin of life were more powerful than any normal martial warriors at the same stage. Time flew. 3 days later, he finally managed to seal all the legacy memories of the devouring nihility beast. Yes, sealed, not absorbed. The memories were too messy and chaotic. They encompassed the introduction of thousands of races in the universe, including humans, orcs, fairies, mecha race, metallic race, plant race. There was information about other universe behemoths too. They were all mysterious and powerful. Ordinary martial warriors would rarely meet them. For instance, the Kunwu beast of the Great Qian Empire and the blazing giant dragon, which the Parker's family had met before. Information of all these legendary beasts was within the devouring nihility beast's memory. There were other small secret skills too. Wang Ting would need numerous years to absorb all of them. But he didn't have the luxury to do that right away. Besides, most of this knowledge was useless. He didn't have to learn them. Even the devouring nihility beast wouldn't digest all the knowledge. It would be a waste of time and effort to learn all this useless and messy information. These memories could be used to enrich himself. Anyway, these memories were his now. They wouldn't disappear. He had ample time to digest them slowly in the future. If he needed something, he could search for the information he needed in this memory reserve. It's time to go out, Wang Ting muttered to himself. The next second, his origin of soul surged out of this dark devour space and returned to his body. In the space fragment, Wang Ting slowly opened his eyes. A deep and dark glow flashed in them. "Wang Ting, you're awake," Round Ball exclaimed in surprise. Yes. Wang Teng nodded. Then, he looked at Round Ball. Round Ball froze in midair. It seemed to have suffered a mental stimulation and started retreating in fear. You! It shouted in astonishment as if it saw something frightening. What's wrong with me? Wang Teng was confused. You're not Wang Teng. Who are you? Round Ball was flabbergasted. It shifted away from Wang Teng grimly. The Ant-Man Queen floated away sternly, staring intently at Wang Teng. Ha ha ha, Wang Teng finally realized what happened. He burst out laughing. I am Wang Ting. No, impossible. Wang Ting wouldn't give me such spiritual pressure. Round Ball gritted its teeth and shook its head. There was sorrow on its face. I consumed the devouring nihility beast, Wang Teng replied. Consumed. Round Ball froze on the spot as if it had heard something unbelievable. It was in a daze. The Ant-Man Queen was in shock too. There was astonishment in her eyes. This was crazy. A human devoured a devouring nihility beast. Where did he get his guts from? Chapter 1152, Bloodline. Wang Teng's words shocked Round Ball and the Ant-Man Queen to their cores. They didn't return to their senses for a long time. After some time, Round Ball took a deep breath. Its voice was filled with doubts. How can you prove that you're Wang Teng? Wang Teng was stunned. This was a serious question. How could he prove his identity? Wang Teng didn't expect that he would be faced with such a strange problem. This is bad. If you can't prove it, we can't confirm if Wang Teng devoured the devouring nihility beast or the other way round. Round Ball remained calm. The devouring nihility beast is so powerful, I'm afraid. The Ant-Man Queen didn't continue. It didn't have that much confidence in Wang Teng. The gap between the devouring nihility beast and Wang Teng was so great. It couldn't imagine how he could successfully consume the devouring nihility beast's soul. That was too unrealistic. All right. Let me think about how to prove it. Wang Teng rubbed his chin and thought about it. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. That's it. He broke up the devouring nihility beast's origin of soul and showed it to them. The huge devouring nihility beast's body shrank multiple times, but its body was still shrouded by the purple dark light, making it difficult to see its true appearance. When Round Ball and the Ant-Man Queen saw the devouring nihility beast's body, they immediately confirmed its identity. The overwhelming presence that stemmed from the bloodline could never be faked. Round Ball and the Ant-Man Queen didn't believe that Wang Teng was who he was because they felt that overwhelming pressure coming from his soul when they looked into his eyes. Look carefully. See how I'm going to prove it to you, Wang Teng said with a little hesitation. Round Ball and the Ant-Man Queen were suspicious. It seemed a little hard to tell by looking at his appearance. Come on, bark like a dog, Wang Teng suddenly said. Round Ball, the Ant-Man Queen, they were dazed. They couldn't believe that this was Wang Teng's great idea. Was he for real? Woof woof. The devouring nihility beast's origin of soul let out a bark. The duo didn't expect it to actually bark. Both of them almost believed that the devouring nihility beast's soul had been taken by Wang Teng. Only he would do such a heartless thing. The devouring nihility beast was from a noble bloodline and would never do anything like that. It wouldn't even bother to learn how other races communicated, let alone a dog's barking. This was a pride that stemmed from its bloodline. It was something everyone knew. Almost every universe behemoth was prideful and noble. They would rather die than do something humiliating. Once, someone wanted to enslave a universe behemoth, but it self-destructed instead. It would rather die than serve someone. And that universe behemoth's bloodline wasn't even as noble as the devouring nihility beast's. Besides, it wouldn't do any good for the devouring nihility beast to pretend that its soul had been obtained by Wang Teng. It had no need to do so. There was only one possibility: Wang Teng had obtained its soul. Round Ball and the Ant-Man Queen looked at Wang Teng in deep shock. Cough, this should be enough. Wang Teng cleared his throat. Now, the devouring nihility beast was him. He made himself bark. Wasn't he resolute enough? Okay. Round Ball had a weird expression. It floated around Wang Ting in disbelief. So you wanted to take its soul? This is the only way. I had to do this, Wang Ting said calmly as if he had done something ordinary. No wonder you didn't tell me about it. If I knew that you were going to use thief, I would have stopped you. Round Ball shook its head. I could only do this by myself. It was useless for me to tell you. You're really insane. Round Ball looked at him as if he were a ghost. The most important thing is that you succeeded. The Ant-Man Queen carefully looked at Wang Teng and the devouring nihility beast's origin of soul. Round Ball also surrounded the devouring nihility beast in curiosity. It wanted to see what it really looked like. This was the devouring nihility beast. No one had seen its true appearance, and it was now in front of them. It felt magical. You should have gained a lot of benefits after your thief succeeded on the devouring nihility beast, Round Ball said. Of course. Wang Ting nodded with a smile. You're so lucky. I don't even know how you managed to succeed. Round Ball shook its head and then said with great excitement. With the devouring nihility beast's body and bloodline, you can definitely advance to the universe stage. There shouldn't be anything hindering you in the process. It's true. Some known universe behemoth can reach the universe stage by just growing and maturing. This devouring nihility beast is much more powerful and mysterious than them. Advancing to the universe stage is not a problem at all. The Ant-Man Queen agreed. This is because only a few people had any information about the devouring nihility beast. They could only speculate. Even so, it was absolutely certain that the devouring nihility beast could reach the universe stage. Wang Ting nodded, and a smile appeared on his face. The devouring nihility beast had a powerful bloodline, satisfying him greatly. The devouring nihility beast grew by devouring. As long as it received enough resources, it could reach the universe stage or even more. It would definitely be a great aid to him. Wang Ting was naturally delighted. As for himself, he wasn't worried at all. As long as he could collect attributes, he wasn't afraid of not reaching the universe stage. In fact, the universe stage was just the beginning. Round Ball and the others didn't know anything about this. They were still worried about his inferior bloodline and whether his talent was enough for him to achieve great things. All right, we should leave this place. Wang Teng kept the devouring nihility beast's origin of soul. That's right. We wasted so much time here. We still have to rush back to number 29 Defense Planet. Round Ball suddenly remembered something and asked, that universe stage martial warrior was also devoured by the devouring nihility beast. Is he dead? Not yet, but is now in my hands. I'll deal with him. There was a hint of coldness in Wang Ting's eyes as he sneered. Hehe, that bastard definitely didn't expect you to tame the devouring nihility beast. Round Ball chuckled. Wang Ting didn't say anything and comforted the floral fairies. He then disappeared from the space fragment. In the next moment, he appeared in the outside world. This was the planet's core but had been sucked dry. Only a huge dark purple ball of light was entrenched there. It was the devouring nihility beast. Keep, Wang Ting said in a low voice. The purple-black ball of light disappeared and was taken into the devour space. Chapter 1153, Massacre Before Leaving. In the decaying and greyish planet, a pitch-black universe spacecraft suddenly appeared. It shot out silently from the atmospheric layer at the speed of light. Round Ball was in full control of the Devil Slayer spacecraft. It activated the panoramic simulation mode. Wang Ting felt a little complicated as he stared at the planet disappearing behind him. This was the end of the planet. It survived till now because the devouring nihility beast had been acting as the core of the planet. Now that Wang Ting kept the devouring nihility beast's body, this planet would collapse. The moment this thought appeared in his mind, a loud explosion occurred behind him. The entire planet shattered without any warning. A third of the planet separated from the main body and exploded, turning into small asteroids that floated in the universe. Then, the other two-thirds of the planet broke into countless asteroids, scattering in the universe. This was the first time Wang Ting witnessed the destruction of a planet. It gave him the jitters, and he was unable to calm down for some time. The origin of soul of the Ant-Man Queen floated out of Wang Teng's body. They didn't have to worry about the devouring nihility beast, so Wang Teng wore the soul crystal on him. The Ant-Man Queen was in deep sorrow as it stared at the planet behind them. Her race had bred and thrived on this planet in the past. It used to be a prosperous place, but now, it was all part of history. The planet no longer existed in the universe. Wang Teng and Round Ball remained quiet. They didn't disturb the Ant-Man Queen. This was a grievous and sorrowful situation. Although they weren't in the Ant-Man Queen's shoes, they understood her. Let's go. After some time, the Ant-Man Queen retracted her gaze and stared into the emptiness ahead. Round Ball, depart. Wang Teng nodded. All right. Devil Slayer, depart. Our destination is the number 29 defense planet. Round Ball chuckled. Its tone turned light-hearted as it piloted the Devil Slayer spacecraft into the grey mist. They possessed an intact universe-level spacecraft that hadn't been damaged, so passing through the grey mist was an easy feat. Intelligent lifeforms are indeed powerful. My clansmen had to study for a long time before we managed to control this spacecraft. We also needed many of us to cooperate together. The Ant-Man Queen looked at Round Ball and commented. Haha, of course. Intelligent lifeforms like me are rare. Round Ball raised its eyebrows at Wang Teng proudly. Wang Teng smiled. Surprisingly, he didn't refute Round Ball this time. He had to admit that it had been a great help to him along the way. Master, my soul can't hold for long. I need to proceed with rebirth immediately. The Ant-Man Queen spoke to Wang Teng with respect. In the past, she might have had other thoughts. But after learning that Wang Ting stole the devouring nihility beast, all these thoughts disappeared. She started to treat him with respect and reverence. She didn't dare to show any signs of unhappiness. You need a powerful star beast with great vitality for your rebirth, right? You need to place this soul crystal in that star beast, Wang Ting said. It looks like Master already knows. The Ant-Man Queen was surprised. Then, she remembered something and nodded. I'll prepare the star beast as soon as I can. Wang Ting nodded. He knew this from the knowledge he had received from the devouring nihility beast. Sorry to trouble you, the Ant-Man Queen replied respectfully. No worries. I'm anticipating the loyalty of the Ant-Man race too. After stealing the devouring nihility beast, the Ant-Man Queen was no longer a threat to him. He could order it around without any worry, so her rebirth was put on the agenda. The spacecraft had entered the grey mist zone. There was a group of toxic mirage beasts ahead. Round Ball, kill them, Wang Teng said calmly with a sharp gaze. These bastards chased us relentlessly in the past. It's time to make them pay the price. I can use this chance to test the weapons on this Devil Slayer too. Round Ball rubbed its hands in anticipation. Don't let any of them escape, Wang Teng said. No one will get away, Round Ball promised. It activated the force cannon of the Devil Slayer. The force cannon was made from bloodlust stones. Hence, its force attacks carried bloodlust conscious in it. It could be used to intimidate their opponent. Boom, boom, boom. Force cannons with strings of black bloodlust conscious slammed into the toxic mirage beasts. Under Round Ball's control, the cannons shot through the air with agility. No one panicked even though toxic mirage beasts were surrounding them from all corners. This situation was completely different from the time when they had just entered the grey mist. At that time, the Flaming River spacecraft was damaged, and there was a universe-stage martial warrior hot on their tails. They had no time to care about these toxic mirage beasts. Now, it was a one-sided massacre. After all, the Devil Slayer was extremely powerful. The toxic mirage beasts were intimidated by the bloodlust conscious. Before they could react, the force cannon struck them, reducing them to minced meat. Wang Teng sat in the host's seat on the spacecraft and collected the attribute bubbles outside indifferently. Constellation Force, Poison, * 1200 Constellation Force, Poison, * 800 Toxic Mirage * 150 blank attribute * 3000 Constellation Force, Poison, * 1500 Toxic Mirage * 120 blank attribute * 2500, A large number of attribute bubbles floated toward Wang Teng. He needed to replenish his blank attributes pool urgently. This was also a good time to raise his poison force. Thus, Wang Teng planned to kill all these poisonous beasts. He would annihilate them. These toxic mirage beasts got attracted by the devouring nihility beast. They formed a grey mist around the planet so that outsiders wouldn't be able to get in. The people inside will find it tough to get out too, the Ant-Man Queen explained. Wang Teng nodded. No one knew the methods of the devouring nihility beast better than him. It wasn't hard for it to control star beasts with a weaker bloodline. Using his powerful spiritual power, Wang Teng spent half a day clearing all the toxic mirage beasts in the grey mist. Not a single beast managed to escape. Wang Teng received a large number of attribute bubbles. Constellation Poison Force, 3280090,000, Planetary Stage 9th Level, Blank Attribute, 75600 Toxic Mirage, 2505,000, Big Achievement. His poison force had reached the 9th level of the planetary stage. He collected more than 70,000 blank attributes too. This was a small windfall. At the same time, he received a lot of toxic mirage attributes, allowing his skill to jump to the big achievement stage. He could release a massive amount of toxic mirage to cover a certain area. This was a good technique. Chapter 1154, Guess. After the toxic mirage beasts died, the grey mist finally dissipated. The Devil Slayer spacecraft left the grey mist zone and returned to outer space. Round Ball locked in on number 29 defense planet. It exclaimed in shock, "We have gone extremely off course. We'll need 2 to 3 days more to complete our journey." "Increase the speed to maximum," Wang Teng said. "No problem. Anyway, I didn't expect this Devil Slayer to be so powerful. Its speed is around 2 times faster than the Flaming River," Roundball commented. "My race paid a huge price to build this Devil Slayer. We place special emphasis on speed and destructive power," the Ant-Man Queen explained softly. "It's indeed powerful. We just hit the asteroids gently with the Devil Slayer, and the sharp wings cut them into 2. Even a Heaven Stage martial warrior can get heavily injured by this spacecraft," Roundball said. Then, the spacecraft entered the dark universe and rushed towards the number 29 defense planet. "Wang Teng, you have a message," Roundball suddenly reminded him. "Who is it?" Wang Teng was surprised. "Di. Connect me to the virtual universe," Wang Teng said hurriedly with a frown. "All right." Roundball nodded. It immediately connected Wang Teng to the virtual universe. The virtual universe. In the Great Qian mainland, within the castle of the Cavendish family, Di was sitting behind a table in an extravagant study room and waiting patiently. Suddenly, Wang Teng's figure appeared in the study. "You're finally here." Di's eyes lit up. He smiled and said happily, "I couldn't contact you for some time." "What happened?" "Sigh. I was being hunted by a universe stage martial warrior." Wang Teng sat down on the real leather sofa and poured himself a cup of fruit juice. He downed it in a single gulp. The delicacies in the virtual universe were amazing. This kind of fruit juice extracted from the emerald honey fruit was a high-class drink rarely seen in the universe. One could only find it on a large planet like Great Qian Planet. Wang Teng could only drink it when he was at Di's place. "What?" Di sprung up from his seat in astonishment. "Why did you offend a universe stage martial warrior again?" "What do you mean by I offended a universe stage martial warrior?" Wang Teng rolled his eyes uncontrollably. "If you didn't provoke him, why would he chase you?" Di sat down beside him. "Who knows? He chased me for no reason." Wang Teng blinked. Then, he scoffed, "Besides the Parkers, I can't think of another family with such capabilities." "Are you saying that the Parkers asked someone to kill you?" Di frowned. "Do you have evidence?" "I think so." "Evidence?" "I'll know after I ask that universe stage martial warrior." "Ask the universe stage martial warrior?" Di was stunned. "Did you convince the martial warrior to switch sides?" "No, I captured him." Wang Teng poured himself another glass of fruit juice and savored it happily. "Not bad. Get some real stuff for me next time. Dai was speechless. Why are you still thinking of this fruit juice? Did you say that you've captured the universe stage martial warrior? Are you kidding? Why would I lie to you? Come on, that's a universe stage martial warrior. Don't make it sound so simple. Dai didn't know how to express his emotions. He felt exasperated. So, how did you capture him? It's a long story. Wang Teng wouldn't tell Dai that he stole a devouring nihility beast. The devouring nihility beast was extremely mysterious. If others knew that he had one, it wouldn't just be the universe stage martial warriors chasing him. The implications were huge. Thus, he just told Dai that he accidentally entered a restricted zone and found a way to turn the tables. Of course, the entire process was dangerous. He almost couldn't come back. He mixed some lies with the truth, so the reliability was quite high. He had a good relationship with Dai. He wouldn't lie to him entirely. Dai believed him too. You're so lucky, Dai lamented. Wang Teng made it sound simple, but he could tell how precarious the situation was. If he were to face a universe stage martial warrior, he could only bring out his ancestor to save himself. He couldn't think of any other ways. In this aspect, he respected Wang Teng. This fellow was fated to be a protagonist. Lucky. I'm risking my life here. Wang Teng shook his head. Judging from what you've said, it's probably the Parker's family. You might not know, but the law of cause and effect is instilled in Grand Duke Chongshan's order. Once any martial warrior from the Parker's family attacks you, they'll be found out. Hence, they can only ask outsiders to do the work for them, Dai said after some contemplation. The law of cause and effect. Wang Teng was stunned. This sounds high class. Even the cause and effect is being used. Haha, you probably don't understand how powerful Grand Duke Chongshan is. Dai shook his head and sighed. Honestly, I'm surprised that he spoke up for you. Wang Teng blinked. He thought of something. Did the Grand Duke know that he had the Godslayer sword scripture? If not, why would someone from the imperial family of the Great Qian Empire speak up for a small baron like him? It was unrealistic. Forget it, let's not talk about this. Wang Ting shook his head and asked, have you reached the number 29 defense planet? Yes, I got there more than a month ago and am waiting for you, Dai replied. But I forgive you since you were being chased by a universe stage martial warrior. Ha ha ha, you'll have to wait for a few more days. I'm on my way. Wang Teng smiled. All right, hurry up. You're the only one left. Dai punched him. If we work together, we'll be able to make a name for ourselves on this number 29 defense planet. When Wang Teng left the Great Qian planet, Dai invited him to roam the number 29 defense planet together and gain military exploits. To the martial warriors in the Great Qian Empire, fighting with the dark apparitions on defense planets was the best way to train themselves. Those martial warriors that fought dark apparitions in battles were all renowned figures. Wang Teng also wanted to see how powerful a devil emperor was. At the same time, he could get some attribute bubbles, so he agreed to Dai's suggestion. Wang Teng and Dai returned to the real world after the small chat. Just as he was about to go back for cultivation, he remembered something. He hadn't dealt with Cao Jiaojiao and Cao Hongtu. Swoosh. He waved his hand and brought Cao Hongtu and Cao Jiaojiao out of his space fragment. Cao Hongtu was heavily injured. He lay on the ground like a dead dog. As for Cao Jiaojiao, she stood at the side with a complicated expression. She couldn't bear to see her father in this state, but she felt extremely disappointed too. Chapter 1155. Don't get angry. Remember, you're a prisoner. Long time no see, senior brother Cao. Wang Teng sat in the main control seat and looked down at Cao Hongtu. His tone was calm. The Ant-Man race might have a special fetish. This seat was designed like a throne. It was entirely black and gave off a ferocious aura like the king of all star beasts. Anyone standing in front of this seat would suffer a great stimulation in his heart. Cao Hongtu raised his head. He seemed exceptionally lifeless after his serious injury. His spirit was also injured, so it made him lethargic and weary. This was an entirely different person from the first time Wang Ting saw him. "What do you want?" Cao Hongtu asked in a hoarse voice. Cao Jiaojiao looked at Wang Ting too. This was the question she wanted to ask. She was caught by Wang Ting in the Flaming River world and locked up until now. She was getting depressed. "I'll give you one choice. Only one of you can stay alive. The one who wants to live can kill the other one." Wang Ting looked back and forth between the two people as he spoke indifferently. Cao Jiaojiao widened her eyes in shock. She stared at Wang Ting as if he were a ghost. Cao Hongtu squinted too. He didn't expect him to give them such a choice. A fight between a father and daughter. This bastard was inhumane. Round Ball and the Ant-Man Queen stared at Wang Ting in astonishment. This fellow's heart was probably black. How could he ask the father and daughter to make such a decision? "Don't even think about it." Cao Jiaojiao stared at Wang Ting with hatred and said in a cold voice. "Oh, is that your choice?" Wang Ting looked at her with interest. Then, he ignored her and turned to Cao Hongtu. "Senior brother Cao, what about you?" Cao Hongtu turned silent. Cao Jiaojiao stared intently at her father. She still bore some hope in her even though he had abandoned her once. Since she was a child, Cao Hongtu gave her hope and love. Among her siblings, she was undoubtedly doted on the most. Even Cao Wu, who was as talented as her, didn't receive such treatment. But after Wang Ting's appearance, Cao Hongtu changed. He would do anything to get the Baron's title, even if that meant forsaking his daughter. So, at this last moment, what would he choose? Wang Ting stared at Cao Hongtu calmly. Cao Hongtu was in a dilemma. In the end, he looked at Cao Jiaojiao and said, "Jiaojiao." He didn't complete his sentence, but Cao Jiaojiao understood his intention from his gaze. Her face turned pale, and she took a step back involuntarily. Clap clap. The claps sounded exceptionally grating. Wang Ting got up from his seat and laughed. Cao Jiaojiao glared at him in frustration and anger. Human nature couldn't be tested. If this fellow didn't give them this inhumane choice, Cao Hongtu wouldn't act like this. Ultimately, it was his fault. Cao Hongtu looked at Wang Ting in humiliation. He thought that the other party was mocking and laughing at him. But, he didn't care. As long as he could live, nothing else mattered. Revenge could only be taken if one stayed alive. Cao Hongtu wasn't willing to die. He could do anything to remain alive, even if it meant going against his will. "Don't look at me like that. I'm just joking," Wang Ting said with a smile. Cao Jiaojiao, Cao Hongtu, joking? The two of them felt a little stuffy. They felt like vomiting blood. F***K, they were pondering their life and death here only to learn that he was joking. Round Ball and the Ant-Man Queen stared at him speechlessly. They were dumbstruck by his actions. Cough. "I didn't expect you to take it seriously. Do I have such an evil impression in your mind?" Wang Ting asked innocently. HMPH. Round Ball snorted. Cao Jiaojiao was panting. She was so angry that she didn't know what to say. This bastard was quite infuriating. Why did someone like him exist? Why hadn't heaven killed him with a bolt of lightning? Cao Hongtu was stunned too. He didn't know what expression to give. "But I still have two choices for you." Wang Ting ignored their expressions and continued. "Again." Cao Jiaojiao was furious. "What do you want? Are you playing with us? Don't get angry. Remember, you're a prisoner." Wang Ting sat back down. Cao Jiaojiao felt speechless. It was normal to play with a prisoner. Nothing wrong with that. But for some reason, she felt extremely frustrated. "All right, let's cut the bullshit." Wang Ting glanced at Cao Jiaojiao and Cao Hongtu. "Submit to me or die. Choose." Cao Jiaojiao and Cao Hongtu were appalled. They stared at Wang Ting in disbelief. So this was his motive. He wanted them to submit to him. "In your dreams. I'll rather die than bow my head to you." Cao Jiaojiao snorted. "It's all right, I can sell you to the slave market. A Cosmos stage martial warrior will fetch a good price. Some people fancy female martial warriors like you." Wang Ting glanced at Cao Jiaojiao and sneered. "You, Cao Jiaojiao pointed at him with a red face. She shuddered in fear at the thought of being sold as a slave and getting bought by some people with weird fetishes. What about you? Wang Teng disregarded her and turned to look at Cao Hongtu. I submit to you. Cao Hongtu agreed after a moment of hesitation. He was unwilling to bow down to Wang Teng, but in the face of death, nothing was important. To him, staying alive was his main aim. Good. Wang Teng nodded. He wasn't surprised. Come here. Cao Hongtu didn't know what he wanted to do. He crawled up from the ground and stumbled in front of Wang Teng. Wang Teng released his spiritual power and stabbed it into Cao Hongtu's forehead. Ah! Cao Hongtu let out a cry of pain. Wang Teng, what are you doing? Cao Jiaojiao was dumbfounded. She screamed in anger and rushed forward to stop him. Wang Teng waved his hand and formed an invisible wall with his spiritual power. Cao Jiaojiao was thrown off her feet. Bang! She slammed onto the metallic wall of the spacecraft. Wang Teng took back the spiritual power he had stabbed into Cao Hongtu's forehead. What is this? Cao Hongtu was terrified. He took a few steps back to stay away from Wang Teng. He was in disbelief. Don't worry. If you have no thoughts of rebelling, this mark won't harm you, Wang Teng explained calmly. Chapter 1156, Baron Wang Teng, welcome to the number 29 defense planet. You left a spiritual mark on me, Cao Hongtu shouted in disbelief. Wang Teng was just a celestial stage martial warrior while he was a heaven stage martial warrior. How was he able to leave his spiritual mark with this huge difference in strength? This wasn't right. But, he suddenly remembered the fear he felt when Wang Teng entered his spiritual core. He didn't know the reason, but the oppression of his spirit was real. How did Wang Teng's spirit become this powerful and scary? This wasn't the ability a celestial stage martial warrior should possess. Cao Hongtu didn't understand. What? Do you have an objection? Wang Teng asked calmly. Cao Hongtu's expression changed. In the end, he submitted to fate and retreated silently to the side. He thought that he could play the hypocrite with every semblance of sincerity and look for a chance to get rid of Wang Teng in the future. He didn't expect this spiritual mark. In the universe, there were many ways to control other people. The biochip present in the slave market was one method. However, it was only suitable for cosmos stage martial warriors and below. After reaching the heaven stage, the martial warrior would be able to remove the biochip without harming his body. In this situation, the biochip had no effect on them. Another way was through the origin of soul. Once someone controlled your origin of soul, you wouldn't be able to resist and had to obey the other party. The origin of soul was the foundation of all martial warriors. Once it was injured, one's cultivation would be affected, and one might even suffer from the pain of their soul decaying. However, an injury of the origin of soul could be healed. For instance, the 9-essence soul congealing pill that Wang Teng made in the past could help. Some treasures were able to heal the soul too. Thus, for martial warriors above the heaven stage, this wasn't the safest method. If they were forced into a corner, they might bear the pain of injuring their origin of soul to escape the control of others. Only low-rank martial warriors could be enslaved with this method. Their origin of soul was weak, so they couldn't withstand any injuries. Any damage to the origin of soul could cost them their lives. They only had a chance of survival if they had a powerful background and could afford to buy Dan medicines or treasures to heal their origin of soul. Another method was the spiritual slavery method. However, these techniques were rare. These skills were normally a secret and only existed in ancient legacies. Wang Teng didn't have it before. After inheriting the memories and legacies of the devouring nihility beast, he found a method that could be used to enslave someone's spirit. This secret skill was called the slave spirit mark. Spiritual secret skills were mysterious and occult. They were hard to decipher too. If the slave attempted to remove it, the master would detect it immediately. If the master ignited the spiritual mark, the person under control would explode and die. There were no other possibilities. Thus, once he was marked, Cao Hongtu had to say goodbye to freedom. That was why his expression had turned ugly. Wang Ting looked at Cao Jiaojiao and said, "Are you done? Do you want to submit to me or should I sell you to the slave market?" Cao Jiaojiao took a few deep breaths. She was in a dilemma, but she chose to submit to Wang Ting in the end. Wang Ting left a spiritual mark on her using the same method. Now, these two people were his slaves. They could never betray him. "Come, call me master." Wang Ting lifted Cao Jiaojiao's chin and laughed. Cao Jiaojiao was embarrassed and furious. However, she couldn't disobey him. She gritted her teeth and squeezed out the word from her mouth. "Master. You're not used to it. You should practice more." Wang Ting patted her face. "Oh, it's quite soft. It feels good." Cao Jiaojiao, to hell with practicing more. If she could disobey him, she would have kicked him. No man had ever dared to treat her with such impoliteness. Now, sigh. Cao Jiaojiao sighed in her heart. She was just Wang Teng's slave now. She had no right to complain. "How long haven't you bathed? Go and wash up and change your clothes. Since you're my slave now, you mustn't embarrass me." Wang Ting sized up Cao Jiaojiao with a strange expression and said with disdain. He waved his hand. Cao Jiaojiao gritted her teeth. Wasn't he the one who caused her to be in this state? He locked her up in the space fragment for a long time. What right did he have to complain? Seriously. But she had to admit that she couldn't stand herself either. She longed to take a bath and wash her bad luck away. "Round Ball, prepare 2 rooms for them," Wang Ting said. "Okay." Round Ball nodded. It prepared rooms for Cao Jiaojiao and Cao Hongtu. After settling Cao Hongtu and Cao Jiaojiao, Wang Ting went back to the cultivation room. He left the piloting to Round Ball. Many days later, Wang Ting finally arrived near the number 29 defense planet. He had changed the Devil Slayer to another ordinary celestial-level spacecraft. After all, the Devil Slayer was too eye-catching. In a chaotic territory like a defense planet, traveling in a powerful universe-level spacecraft would attract unnecessary trouble. Wang Ting didn't want to catch the attention of any universe-stage martial warrior again. After flying for another hour, he finally saw a large grayish-brown planet in the distance. There were giant battlecraft with the Great Qian Empire's symbol lined up around the planet, forming a strong line of defense. A nervous atmosphere could be felt between the line of defense and the planet. Every spacecraft that reached this area would have to undergo a round of inspection and enter the number 29 defense planet through a fixed route. If not, they would be mercilessly shot down. Round Ball, notify them. Wang Ting stood in front of the control station. Round Ball immediately notified the Great Qian Empire's army that was stationed on this number 29 defense planet. After some time, a light screen appeared in front of Wang Ting. "Baron Wang Teng, welcome to the number 29 defense planet. I'm the second lieutenant in charge of guiding you. My name is Fei Hai," a middle-aged man with brown hair said. "Nice to meet you, Second Lieutenant Fei Hai." Wang Ting nodded in reply. "I'll send you the spacecraft route in a moment. Please follow this route to enter the number 29 defense planet," Fei Hai reminded. "Do not leave the route or you'll be shot down." "I understand." Wang Ting nodded. Round Ball received the route instantly. They followed it and entered the number 29 defense planet successfully. The spacecraft was parked in the dock. Di Chi was already waiting for them. Chapter 1157, Situation on the Defense Planet. The ordinary mass-produced celestial-level spacecraft landed gradually. The cabin door opened, and Wang Teng alighted. "Ha ha ha, you're finally here." Peals of laughter welcomed his arrival. Di Chi strode over and gave him a big hug. "Do you have to be so enthusiastic? I don't like men." Wang Teng patted his back and moved away. "Seriously." Di Chi laughed as he complained. This fellow was as playful as always. "Baron Wang Ting, nice to meet you. Welcome to the number 29 defense planet." A second lieutenant wearing the Great Qian Empire's military uniform walked over and saluted Wang Teng. He seemed respectful. By right, Wang Teng was just a baron and didn't have a military position, so he didn't have to care. However, since Wang Ting came to the front line of the number 29 defense planet for battle, the higher authorities had already arranged an adequate position for him. As his guide, Fei Hai had heard some news. However, Wang Ting didn't know anything about it. Second Lieutenant Fei Hai, nice to meet you. Wang Ting returned the salute. Come on, let's head to the military base for reporting. Di Chi led the way. Then, he turned and looked at the celestial-level spacecraft and asked, "Where's your cosmos-level spacecraft? Why did you change it?" "It got destroyed by the universe stage martial warrior," Wang Ting said sadly. All right. Pretend I didn't say anything." Di Chi gave a bitter smile after a moment of silence. Get destroyed by a universe stage martial warrior? He couldn't complain even if he wanted to. The QYE-63 was an ancient spacecraft model, and it was expensive. He wanted to buy it from Wang Ting in the past but was rejected. He didn't expect it to get destroyed by a universe stage martial warrior. Di Chi felt his heart aching. However, he couldn't take revenge on the universe stage martial warrior, right? Never mind, out with the old, in with the new. It's time to change to a better spacecraft, Wang Ting said nonchalantly. After the QYE-63 Cosmos-level spacecraft was destroyed, he received the Devil Slayer, a universe-level spacecraft. This was a great bargain. If Di Chi knew, he wouldn't find it a pity anymore. He might even get jealous. That was a universe-level spacecraft. Moreover, it was a special spacecraft customized by the powerful Ant-Man race. The Devil Slayer was a top-notch spacecraft, be it as a collectible or based on its ability and functions. Di Chi was speechless. This fellow sounded light-hearted. He felt as if he was speaking to a wealthy fellow. Second Lieutenant Fei Hai was astounded. He felt a little overwhelmed. A Cosmos-level spacecraft was destroyed by a universe-stage martial warrior? There was too much information in this sentence. He couldn't react in time. Did Baron Wang Ting offend a universe-stage martial warrior and got his spacecraft destroyed? Then, he was still standing here. It was unbelievable. This Baron wasn't a simple person. He suddenly felt fortunate that he had shown enough respect to Wang Ting. He might be in trouble if he offended this young man. He was just a small second lieutenant. He was nothing in front of all these big figures. Wang Ting sat on a heavy military truck and drove out of the dock. He sized up his surroundings through the window. Di Chi had been here for a month, so he was familiar with this place. He started introducing the planet to Wang Ting. "Colonel Di Chi, you're snatching my job," Second Lieutenant Fei Hai said with a bitter smile. "Ha ha ha, I'm helping you with your work. Isn't that a good thing?" Di Chi laughed. "Brother Di Chi, you're a colonel already?" Wang Ting asked in surprise. He remembered his military rank when he was still on Earth. At that time, he was a major general. Of course, if he had continued climbing the ladder, he could become a general. The three great commanders even wanted to give him the commander position. However, Wang Ting turned them down. With his current ability and stage, any position on Earth was useless. Mind you, he was the overlord of the Milky Way. Earth was just a planet in the Milky Way. Hence, there was no use fighting for the commander's position. He would rather give this opportunity to those who needed it. There were a bunch of people who wanted that rank and had worked hard for many years. Why did he have to be the evil one and snatch their chance? "I have been in the military for a long time. Being a colonel isn't surprising," Di Chi said with a smile. "Looks like I'll need you to take care of me now," Wang Ting teased. "You entered the defense planet as a baron, so your rank won't be low either." Huh! Wang Ting was stunned. He was a new citizen of the Empire. What rank could the military give him? "You'll know when the time comes." Di Chi smiled. As they laughed and chatted, the heavy truck entered an enormous military base. This base was gigantic, many times bigger than the battle fortress on the number 4 defense planet. It could be a city on its own. All types of military vehicles were traveling on clean, orderly, and spacious roads. Soldiers with weapons on them were patrolling beside the roads. Large-sized weapons could be seen on the metallic buildings at the side, making this city appear even more heavily guarded. This was a sturdy and tough metallic battle fortress. There are many Cosmos-level weapons here, Wang Teng commented. You have good eyesight. There will be a Cosmos-level weapon every 50 meters, Second Lieutenant Fei Hai explained after a moment of surprise. Is the situation here so serious? Wang Teng asked. You'll know soon. Fei Hai smiled. Wang Teng didn't know what he meant. He felt even more puzzled when he saw the mysterious smile on Di Chi's face. Beep, beep, beep. A few minutes later, a head-splitting siren blared in the base. Look. Fei Hai pointed at the sky. Wang Teng was astounded. However, he calmed down when he saw Fei Hai and Di Chi's composed expressions and looked up in the direction he was pointing at. A few black shadows were flying in the sky in the distance, escaping to the west of the city. With his eyesight, Wang Teng could tell that these were dark apparitions. There was no way to hide their thick dark force. Also, these weren't normal dark apparitions. They were devil kings. Boom, boom, boom. The weapons on the ground started firing. Glaring beams of force glow shot into the sky. Roar, roar. The devil kings bellowed in anger before they got blown into pieces. These powerful devil kings died without a trace. What a miserable death. Normally, this scene was a huge stimulation to the new martial warriors who came to this planet. Fei Hai stared at Wang Teng's face, wanting to see the emotions a newbie should have. Unfortunately, he was disappointed. There were no traces of anxiousness at all. Besides a second of astonishment in his eyes at the start, he remained calm throughout the entire process as if it wasn't any big deal. Honestly, Wang Teng was surprised by himself. It might be because he had experienced too many things, so such matters couldn't affect him anymore. We frequently discover signs of dark apparitions here. Devil kings and low-tier devil emperors can enter our attacking range. We don't show any mercy and kill them the moment we see them, Fei Hai explained. Are these dark apparitions stupid? Wang Teng couldn't help but ask. Fei Hai was stunned for a moment. Then, he smiled and explained, the space on this planet is unstable. Dimensional rifts can appear anywhere and at any time. Thus, besides the military base, dark apparitions can be found everywhere. Of course, the area within a 30 miles radius of the military base is safe. Any dark apparitions will be killed by heavy weapons the moment they appear. Some weaker dark apparitions get killed by the patrolling martial warriors, Di Chi added. It looks like the number 29 defense planet is more interesting than I thought, Wang Teng said. Interesting? Di Chi and Fei Hai looked at him with strange expressions. They felt that Wang Teng's mind was different from a normal person's. Wang Teng smiled. He released his spiritual power and picked up the attribute bubbles in the air. Constellation Force, Dark, * 1500 Celestial Realm Spirit * 100 Constellation Force, Dark, * 1800 Celestial Realm Spirit * 120 Constellation Force, Dark, * 2200 Celestial Realm Spirit * 115. By right, one shouldn't use spiritual power in the military base. He would be suspected of spying on the military's secrets. The consequences would be dire if he was found out. However, Wang Teng only released a small string of spiritual power to collect the attribute bubbles. This small string wouldn't be discovered as long as it didn't enter the range of the spiritual power detection devices. The attribute bubbles were all outside the military base. He didn't need to enter the restricted zones. Besides, his spirit was powerful, so he wasn't worried. The military's heavy truck drove ahead and soon reached the center of the military base. The war room, meeting rooms, and administrative rooms were in the central region. The lodgings of the higher authorities were here too. The heavy truck stopped outside a building after rounds of inspection. Second Lieutenant Fei Hai led Wang Teng in. The space inside this building was vast. The thick metallic walls were a sign of its strong defense. Normal attacks wouldn't be able to damage this place. After some time, the three of them came in front of a huge door. There was a soldier wearing a lieutenant uniform behind it. Adjutant Song, please inform General Cameron that Baron Wang Teng is here, Second Lieutenant Fei Hai went forward and said. The lieutenant glanced at Wang Teng curiously and nodded. Please wait for a moment. He knocked on the door and entered the room. After some time, he walked out and raised his hand to invite Wang Ting in. Baron Wang Ting, please come in. General Cameron has been waiting for you. Chapter 1158, Test and Major. Wang Ting entered General Cameron's office alone. He saw a stern-looking man with white hair sitting behind the office table and writing furiously. He seemed to be busy. He didn't even raise his head when Wang Ting came in. Wang Ting didn't disturb him either. He stood at the side and waited while looking around the room. This was a simple office. Yes, the word simple was the best way to describe it. Wang Ting had seen many offices in the Great Qian Empire. The majority of them were extravagant. This was the first time he saw such a simple one. It looked like this general wasn't a fan of enjoyment. Only someone like him could guard a defense planet for a long time. After all, it wasn't an easy task dealing with the dark apparitions on a defense planet. Most importantly, General Cameron was a powerful universe-stage martial warrior. This was why Wang Ting didn't dare to be impolite. After some time, General Cameron raised his head and looked at Wang Ting. He was sizing him up. Baron Wang Ting, you came from a backward planet, but you caused a huge uproar in the Great Qian planet. I have long heard of your name, General Cameron said indifferently. Wang Ting didn't give any expressions. He didn't know what this general meant. Was this praise or criticism? Thus, he remained quiet and waited for the general to continue. The Empire has given you a major title, General Cameron continued. Wang Ting was surprised. A major right away? Was the Empire always so generous? Mind you, he hadn't made any military exploits. Would others have any objections to his title? Many thoughts flashed through Wang Ting's mind. You're entering the battlefield as a major. You're not a simple soldier anymore. General Cameron gave him a meaningful gaze and continued, it looks like the Empire has high hopes for you. Wang Ting was enlightened. More thoughts went through his mind. Did someone put him in a high position so that he could fall harder? Or did they hope that he could gain more experience on the battlefield and achieve more military contributions? The first group was probably the Parkers. The second group would be the Imperial family. As your direct superior, I have the right to reject such requests. General Cameron paused. No emotions could be seen on his face. Wang Ting looked back at Cameron calmly. General Cameron was a universe-stage martial warrior, so the pressure he gave was immense. In addition, he was a real warrior who fought with dark apparitions all year round on the battlefield, so his aura seemed to contain numerous souls of the deceased screaming and howling in agony. Massive killing intent congregated around him. His calm eyes suddenly turned sharp as if there were mountains of corpses ingrained inside. All the pressure was locked on Wang Ting. However, Wang Ting wasn't affected. He stood there firmly without any fluctuations in his eyes. He was extremely familiar with such powerful killing intent. Hence, this amount of pressure couldn't frighten him. There was finally a sign of astonishment on General Cameron's face. A smile appeared at the edge of his lips. He appeared satisfied with Wang Ting's performance. You're the first celestial stage martial warrior that can remain composed under my pressure. The military recorded your performance on the number 4 defense planet. I saw videos of your fight. You're not bad. You're speaking too highly of me. Wang Ting remained respectful and calm. Bowing slightly, he said, have I passed your test? Oh, you knew that I was testing you? Yes. After all, there's no need for a universe-stage martial warrior like you to have such a long conversation with me. Very good. Brute force isn't enough to survive on the battlefield. You need intelligence too. I have sent the appointment letter to your account. Go back and take a look. Fei Hai will bring you to collect your military uniform and battle resources. Someone else will send you your mission later. I hope you won't disappoint me. He waved his hand, asking Wang Ting to leave. Wang Ting bowed and turned to leave the office quietly. Di Qi and Fei Hai gathered around him outside the door. How was it? What did that fuddy-duddy say to you? Di Qi asked directly. He was a little worried since Wang Ting was inside for half an hour. Other newbies wouldn't need to meet General Cameron for such a long time. Even though Wang Ting was a baron, he shouldn't receive any special treatment from General Cameron. Well, unless the general viewed him differently. Fei Hai's eyelids twitched in fear. Colonel Di was too bold. They were just outside General Cameron's office. Wasn't he worried that the general would hear him? Adjutant Song felt the corner of his mouth twitching. He pretended he didn't hear anything. Fuddy-duddy. Wang Ting gave a strange expression. This description suited the general. He smiled and replied, "Nothing, he gave me some words of encouragement. General Cameron is nice to interact with." Nice to interact with? Fei Hai glanced at Wang Ting curiously. He highly suspected that General Cameron Wang Ting mentioned was different from General Cameron he knew. General Cameron was famous on the number 29 defense planet for being strict and old-fashioned. Everyone was afraid of him. Although Di dared to talk behind his back, he was afraid to speak up to his face. Are you kidding? Di stared at Wang Ting weirdly. He felt that Wang Ting was trying to brush him off. I'm fine, right? General Cameron didn't eat me. Wang Ting laughed. Honestly, he felt fine. He wasn't affected by the words General Cameron said or the test he gave him. All right, you're amazing. Di felt that he was worried for nothing. He gave Wang Ting a thumbs up. Wang Ting smiled. He said to Fei Hai, Second Lieutenant Fei Hai, General Cameron asked you to bring me to collect my military uniform and battle resources. All right, follow me, Fei Hai said hurriedly. The three of them left General Cameron's office and walked out of the administrative building. They drove toward the logistics department. Wang Ting, what rank did the military give you? Di asked curiously. Major. F***K, you're already a major? Seriously? Di widened his eyes in shock. Fei Hai's jaws dropped in surprise too. He knew that Wang Ting would get a rank, but he didn't know what it was. He couldn't calm down for quite a while. Is a major very high? Wang Ting asked. You're asking for a beating. Di glanced at him from the corner of his eyes. Fei Hai was speechless too. As a second lieutenant, he had no right to speak. I'm sorry, I shouldn't disturb you. Do you know how long it took me to become a major? Di asked. 1 year. Wang Ting touched his chin and guessed. Di coughed awkwardly, feeling offended. He replied angrily, 1 year? In your dreams. I took 3 entire years and I was at the celestial stage, just like you. I was only given the major rank because of my outstanding performance during team combat. You were quite weak at that time. Wang Ting looked down on him. Di felt like cursing. He was frustrated. However, when he remembered Wang Ting's achievements, he kept quiet. It's too early to be sad. With me beside you, you'll soon realize that you're weaker than you think, Wang Ting consoled him. Di, was this consolation? Do you have some misunderstanding of what consolation is? Fei Hai, I thought that they'd make you a lieutenant. I didn't expect them to give you a major title, Di lamented. One could see that reaching the major rank in the Great Qian Empire wasn't easy. It was vastly different from the major title on Earth. At that time, Wang Ting managed to get the rank easily with some military achievements. If he wanted to reach the same height here, he would have a much longer path to walk. Soon, the three of them arrived at the logistics department. The building was around 4 times bigger than the administrative department. Wang Ting had an easier time with Fei Hai leading the way. He didn't have to worry about encountering any trouble. The logistics department was huge. Fei Hai led Wang Ting through a long corridor before arriving in a spacious room. Second Lieutenant Jeff, I came to take the military uniform and resources for an officer. Fei Hai changed the way he addressed Wang Ting after learning his rank. He was speaking to an old soldier in the room. Second Lieutenant Jeff got up from his seat and looked at the party of 3. He said seriously, please show me your appointment letter to verify your identity. Wang Ting tapped his wristwatch, displaying an official appointment letter from the Empire. He sent it to the screen on the wall. Beep. A notification of identity confirmation appeared on the screen. Second Lieutenant Jeff nodded. There was no problem with the appointment letter, but when he saw Wang Ting's rank, he hurriedly put on a respectful expression and saluted. Major Wang Ting, nice to meet you. You're too polite. Wang Ting saluted too. He noticed that this second Lieutenant Jeff had lost an arm and a leg. Mechanical limbs were used to replace them. He was obviously an old soldier who had retired from the battlefield. Wang Ting would give such people his respect. Second Lieutenant Jeff walked into the warehouse behind him and entered the identification information. He carried a box out. Major Wang Ting, these are your military uniform and battle resources. It includes 1 Cosmos-level battle armor, 1 Cosmos-level force gun, and 1 Cosmos-level healing medicine. You will live in Zone 2 House 0155. Your lodging rights have been activated. You can use your account to gain access. Alright, thank you. Wang Ting took the box and kept it in his space ring without a second look. Second Lieutenant Jeff didn't know what to say after seeing his casual attitude. The three of them left the logistics department after collecting the resources. Jeff shook his head. He guessed that this must be a descendant of some elite family who came to the defense planet for training and experience. He wondered how long he could stay. Chapter 1159. Have you heard of the story of the humane and the inhumane? Wang Ting and the others left the logistics department and drove to the residential area. I can guarantee that Second Lieutenant Jeff treated you as a noble. Di Chi glanced back and smiled. Why? Wang Ting asked curiously. Because all your equipment is at the Cosmos level, which is beyond your rank and stage. However, you look like you don't care. Of course he would think that you are a noble. Only nobles would be so proud. Di Chi joked. That's true. I'm a baron after all. Wang Ting shook his head and laughed. After some time, they arrived at the residential area. The houses were all arranged in neat rows. The ranked field officers and above lived in Zone B. They were not to live with others, which was why everyone had their individual houses. Under Second Lieutenant Fei Hai's guidance, Wang Ting arrived at House 0155. He then turned on his wristwatch, and the door opened automatically. The house wasn't big. Besides a simple bedroom, small guest room, bathroom, and training room, there was nothing else. Major Wang Ting, this is the end of my mission. Higher-ups should have arranged for someone to coordinate with you. But feel free to contact me if there's anything. Second Lieutenant Fei Hai bade farewell. After Wang Ting sent Fei Hai off, he entered the room with Di Chi. He realized that although the house was well equipped, it was very simple. There weren't any items for entertainment or enjoyment. The dormitories here are all the same. I live in Zone B House 0123, not far from you, Di Chi said. A direct descendant of the dignified Cavendish family is staying at the same place as me? Wang Ting was surprised. On the defense planet, any status or background is useless. Everyone will be heading to the battlefield and striving for glory with their lives on the line. Di Chi shook his head and sighed. But in the next moment, a bottle of juice and 2 tall glasses appeared in his hand. He then poured out 2 glasses of golden and fragrant juice and snickered. But we still have to enjoy ourselves. Wang Ting was caught between laughter and tears. This was really Di Chi's way of doing things. He wouldn't forget to enjoy life wherever he went. He was the same as well. He had prepared a lot of items in his space equipment. Even if the outside world ran out of food for 10 years, he could still live well. Both of them sat opposite each other on the guest room's sofa. They then clinked their glasses, making a crisp sound. We can't drink in the military. We'll replace it with juice instead. Di Chi smiled. A little wine wouldn't mean a thing to a martial warrior, Wang Ting said in surprise. It might not mean a thing, but one can never be too careful. Without this rule, people would relax. After all, this is a defense planet. We can't be sloppy, Di Chi explained. Wang Ting nodded. What mission do we have next? Don't know. I was previously assigned a few small missions here to wipe out the nearby dark apparitions. It wasn't too difficult. Maybe you will start with something similar. Looking at General Cameron, I don't think he's planning any simple tasks for me. Oh! Daichi's eyes flashed, and he rubbed his chin. He then became excited. Seems like we will have something big. Very well, I've been waiting impatiently. He was already rubbing his palms. Wang Teng glanced at him speechlessly. He didn't realize previously that Daichi was so battle-hungry. When they first met, Daichi still carried the arrogance of a Cosmos stage martial warrior, but now, he had changed. After chatting for some time, Daichi got up and left. Wang Teng closed the door and opened up the box that he had picked up from the logistics department. The box was rather heavy, but it was nothing for a martial warrior. After verifying the electronic message, the box opened, and the items inside were presented to Wang Teng one by one. First was the military uniform. There were 3 sets in total, which included helmets, clothes, and boots. As far as the style was concerned, it was sleek and fitting. They were black, and the collar, sleeves, and hem had red stripes on them. The emblem of the Great Qian Empire, Kunwu Beast, was also embroidered on the chest. Wang Teng tried them on. It fit him just right and made him look stunning. It also exuded the aura of a soldier. He then kept the uniform away. The uniform was not usually worn, only used for some formal occasions. The armor was the thing they wore on the battlefield. Wang Teng was provided with a set of Cosmos-level battle armor. This was extremely expensive in the market. Ordinary warriors would spend a lot of money to acquire a set. However, the Great Qian Empire just provided him with one. Others wouldn't even dare to think about this treatment. However, Wang Teng already had a set of universe-level battle armor. He didn't find it unusual. There was also a Cosmos-level force gun. He took it out from one of the compartments and examined it carefully. This was the first time that he obtained a Cosmos-level force gun. The force gun was not huge. It was only a little larger than ordinary guns. It was probably forged using some precious and rare metals, which was why it was heavier. After all, the more advanced the force gun, the higher the material requirements. There were many complicated runes on the force gun. With Wang Teng's mastery of runes, it wasn't difficult for him to understand them. After examining it for a while, he roughly understood the capabilities of the force gun and kept it. Force guns were useful in certain situations, especially for people with extremely advanced gun skills. Wang Teng's gun kung fu was at the master level. With this Cosmos-level force gun, he was a threat to even Cosmos stage martial warriors. As for the bottle of Cosmos stage healing dan, it wasn't of much use to Wang Teng. For a Grandmaster alchemist, the dan wasn't what he wanted. While Wang Teng made preparations for the defense planet, he refined a lot of healing dans. All of them were of great quality and were much better than the ones the military provided him with. Cosmos Stage Dan was actually Grandmaster first rank to third rank dans. With Wang Teng's capabilities, refining them was not difficult. However, these items were already very good. Wang Teng felt that the military was generous. Although, this was possibly due to the fact that he was a baron of the empire. If it was someone else, they wouldn't possibly receive these even if they were majors as well. Wang Teng didn't have any plans of going out. He went into the bedroom, sat on his bed, and started multitasking. He entered the virtual universe to cultivate while digesting the memories and legacies of the devouring nihility beast. Before he knew it, night fell. Daichi came over to find Wang Teng for dinner. It wasn't a big deal to miss a few meals for martial warriors, but Daichi and Wang Teng were not ones to treat themselves badly. They would eat whenever they could. Moreover, they didn't go to the cafeteria to eat. They set up a small stove in the room. It wasn't difficult for those who possessed space equipment to prepare delicious food. Placing freshly prepared food into the space ring could keep the food in the best condition. It was like they came out fresh from the grill. After filling themselves, Daichi leisurely returned to his room. With Wang Teng's arrival, Daichi had let himself go. At least there was someone with him. He was no longer eating alone by himself, which was boring. Shortly after Daichi left, Wang Teng sat and rested on the sofa. He then released Cao Jiaojiao from the space fragment and got her to massage his back. Cao Jiaojiao stood behind Wang Teng reluctantly and gritted her teeth. She wished she could slap him. It was simply too much for a Cosmos stage martial warrior to do something lowly like this. At this time, the intelligence system of the house prompted that someone was here to visit. Who's looking for me at such a time? Wang Teng was puzzled. He then put the resentful cow Jiao Jiao away in the space fragment and opened the door. A sneaky figure stood outside the door. A smile appeared on his face when he saw Wang Teng opening the door. Who are you? Wang Teng asked curiously. He didn't know who this was. It's me. He acted like he was familiar with him and whispered, let me in first. He then snuck under Wang Teng's armpit and entered. Wang Teng was even more puzzled. He then grabbed his collar and pulled him up. Who the hell are you? If you don't identify yourself, don't blame me for being rude. I have the right to kill you for breaking into someone's house on the defense planet. Don't. The person was startled, and his face suddenly changed from a young man to a charming girl. She was a familiar face. Olivia. Wang Teng looked at her with surprise. This girl was Di Chi's cousin who he met on the number 4 defense planet. He wasn't too surprised by the disguise. As a direct descendant of the Cavendish family, changing her appearance was nothing. Hey, it's me. Olivia snickered and shook her body. Put me down first. Wang Teng felt a headache coming. He asked helplessly, did you run away from home again? How do you know? Olivia scurried into the room and asked with her eyes wide. Silence. There is something wrong with this girl's head. Isn't it obvious? Wang Teng was speechless. Close the door quickly. It won't be good if my cousin saw me. Olivia didn't care about Wang Teng's complaints and hurried over to close the door. Isn't it inappropriate for a boy and girl to be in the same room alone? Wang Teng crossed his arms and leaned against the door. Gah! We're friends. You wouldn't do anything to me, right? Olivia was stunned and smiled in embarrassment. That's not necessarily true. Have you heard of the story of the humane and the inhumane? Wang Teng decided to frighten her. She might really think it was fun outside if she ran around all day like this. Chapter 1160, Bastard and Raging Wolf Wendell. The story of the humane and the inhumane. What story is that? Olivia asked him curiously. Wang Teng suddenly felt a little guilty. His urge to pollute her innocence was doused when he saw the young lady's naive look. Cough. Wang Teng coughed and shook his head. Nothing. Oh right. Why are you here? I came to seek refuge. Olivia chuckled. Seek refuge? From me? For what? Wang Teng asked in surprise. The defense planet is dangerous. If I don't find someone for help, I'll definitely be sent to the front line. With my ability, I won't be able to come back, Olivia said. So you know that a defense planet is dangerous. Wang Teng glanced at her. This lady finally said something intelligent. Of course. Olivia rolled her eyes and gave him an I'm not stupid look. I don't want to stay at home, but I'm not planning to kill myself. You can look for your cousin. Why did you find me? Wang Teng understood Olivia's thoughts. Without a doubt, she had reached the rebellious phase of her life. Rebellious kids acted the same way. I'll be sent back if I go to him. Olivia said helplessly, I have seen your ability on number 4 defense planet. You're not weaker than him. You might even be stronger. Most importantly, you dared to offend the Parkers. Although many elite families say that you're overestimating your ability, I can tell that they actually admire you. Stop. Don't compliment me. Wang Teng raised his hand. I don't buy it. Come on Tilda. Olivia dragged her words and came over to hug Wang Teng's arm, shaking it left and right. Don't be so heartless. We're friends. You can do me a favor. Wang Teng felt goosebumps popping up on his skin. He took a deep breath. Was this young lady so wild? Look at how pitiful I am. My family always treats me like a kid. Why can cousin Di Chi go out while I can only grow up under the protection of my family? When I reach a certain age, I will be engaged to another member of an elite family. I don't have my own life. Olivia didn't care about Wang Teng's reaction and continued speaking. That's your problem. It's got nothing to do with me. If your family learns that I'm helping you, They'll beat me to death. No, I promise that they won't find out about it. What can you do? Wang Teng said in disdain. If you had the power, you wouldn't be begging me here. Olivia didn't know what to say. She placed her palms together and pleaded, please help me. I'm begging you. Please. Wang Teng didn't know if he should laugh at her soft-spoken and humble attitude. Olivia was the little princess of the Cavendish family. She was pampered since young and grew up with a golden spoon. It was hard to believe that she would do such things. But oh no. Rejected. Don't even think about it. Wang Teng turned her down 3 times consecutively. Without a doubt, the battlefield was dangerous. He didn't have the time and effort to bring this burden along. Sob. Olivia's expression changed when she heard his heartless rejection. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she plonked on the ground and started wailing. Straight face, Wang Teng didn't know how to react. He felt helpless as he stared at the young lady bawling on the ground. It was as if he did something atrocious and bullied her. Wang Teng almost agreed, as if, bang. He shut the door, chasing Olivia out. She stared at the closed door in front of her absent-mindedly. What is this? What happened? Someone rejected the beautiful and charismatic Olivia. Olivia turned red. She puffed up her cheeks in anger and circled twice outside the door. Bastard. She kicked the door angrily. Footsteps suddenly came from afar. Olivia didn't dare to stay any longer. She changed her appearance and left quickly. Wang Teng shook his head as he stared at the scene happening outside his door through the surveillance camera. At first, he wanted to inform Di, but he decided not to be the evil one in the end. This was their own issue. They should solve it themselves. Olivia was the little princess of the Cavendish family. There might be powerful martial warriors protecting her. A silent night. Wang Teng woke up bright and early the next morning. Wang Teng, there's a new notification, Roundball reminded him. Wang Teng opened his wristwatch, and a message popped out. He was surprised after reading it that was farce. The doorbell rang at this moment. Wang Teng smiled. He knew who it was. He walked to the door and opened it. As expected, Di was outside. For some reason, Wang Teng got reminded of the young lady who ran away from home yesterday. Your expression is a little strange. Di was quite sensitive. He detected something immediately. Really? You must have seen wrong. Wang Teng brushed him off. Oh right, did you see the message? Di didn't probe further. Yes, I saw it. I'm heading over now. Wang Teng nodded. All right. They had received the same message. After some preparations, they headed to the big field within the military base together. The field was in the east. It was huge and covered a great area. When they arrived, a large number of military martial warriors were already gathered there. There were battlecraft in the parking areas along the sides of the field. Wang Teng and Di stood in an empty section and waited for the time to arrive. It was 5:50 on the number 29 defense planet. The sky was just turning bright. More people started walking over. Di. A hoarse and cold voice attracted their attention. A tall figure walked over from afar and arrived in front of Wang Teng and Di. Wendell, it's you. Di was astounded. Then, he frowned. Wang Teng sized up the other party. Seeing the flame symbol on his forehead, he knew that this was a member of the Parkers. You've gotten bolder. Why aren't you staying at your number 4 defense planet? Where did you get the courage to come to the number 29 defense planet? Wendell said with contempt. Di's expression turned ugly as he glared at the other party. TMPH, number 29 defense planet can't be compared to the number 4 defense planet. You might lose your life before completing your mission. Wendell sneered. Then, he turned to look at Wang Teng without waiting for Di's reply. You're Wang Teng, right? Do you plan to lose your life here? Why did you come when you're only at the celestial stage? There was killing intent and contempt when he looked at Wang Teng. He obviously knew about the conflict and grudges between Wang Teng and the Parkers. However, he scoffed at the news sent back by his family. They mentioned that Wang Teng managed to injure a universe-stage martial warrior and even escaped a Heaven Lord's pursuit. He believed that it was either an exaggeration or that Wang Ting had external help. He wasn't like a martial warrior on the battlefield. They could only rely on themselves to get their military exploits one step at a time. This was the difference between military martial warriors and normal martial warriors. Many members of the Parker's family had never been on the battlefield. They lived a comfortable and sheltered life, different from military martial warriors who fought on the battlefield all year round. They climbed their way up through piles of corpses and had their own pride and ruthlessness. Wendell was one of these martial warriors. Brother Di, do the Parkers have some special fetish? Wang Teng wasn't someone easy to bully. He glanced at Wendell before turning to Di. Special fetish? Di was stunned. This was quite a big change of topic. He didn't manage to react in time. For instance, do they like to eat shit? Why are their mouths so smelly? Wang Ting pinched his nose and said. Di felt enlightened and almost burst out laughing. He gave Wendell a strange look. Wendell turned green with anger. He glared at Wang Ting as if he wanted to skin him alive. His voice was cold as it escaped his gritted teeth. You're looking for death. How do you want me to die? Come, give it a try. Wang Ting hooked his fingers at Wendell with a nonchalant expression. He didn't take the threat to heart at all. Good. Very good. Wendell clenched his fists tightly. Veins popped out of his forehead. Do you want to hit me? Come on, hit me. If I resist, I'm your son. Wang Ting stuck his head out. Di gave a strange expression. He was having a hard time controlling his laughter. If anyone dared to attack their comrade in the military base, they would get punished by the military court. Even the Parkers wouldn't be able to save him. These were the rules and regulations carried out by the Great Qian Empire's military over the years. No one could break them easily. Although the powerful families had their own factions in the military, they were all constrained in one area. The ones in high positions were powerful martial warriors with no background. They were the real giants of the military. The empire would not allow elite families to have too much power in the military. If Wendell dared to hit Wang Teng, he would leave a stain on his military career. This misconduct would affect his future promotions. Wendell panted heavily with an ugly expression. In the end, he just snorted and turned to leave. For Wang Teng, it wasn't worth it. Coward. Wang Teng scoffed. Wendell stopped for a second. He heard the word, but he just hastened his pace and disappeared in the blink of an eye. This fellow is still as irritating as ever. Di shook his head. How much do you know about him? Wang Teng asked. He has been on this defense planet for a long time. He directly came here after leaving his family. I have to admit that he's a tough nut. He earned a small reputation over the years and a nickname. People call him Raging Wolf. Raging Wolf. Wang Teng repeated. He could see the other party's personality and style through this nickname. However, Wang Teng wasn't afraid. He took a look at him just now and knew that this Raging Wolf was only at the 6th level of the Cosmos stage. If he dared to provoke him, he didn't mind ignoring their relationship as comrades and killing him on the battlefield. He was still confident in dealing with a 6th level Cosmos stage martial warrior. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.